Oh, yeah. I am awake and alive and alive.
I'm so great I gotta say it twice and cut it out once. My head's a syrup bottle that's getting tipped over every Wednesday. You're a storyteller in a storytelling podcast, and the only story you're telling now is a story about stories you don't want to tell! What the fuck? Hey, what's happening? Mike Schmidt, 40-year-old boy podcast. How are you folks? I am fine. Thank you for asking. Did you ask? You may have asked. You may have just thought it. I'm sure you think that before you hit play every week. You're like, oh, I wonder how Mike is today. Well, guess what? The answer today, I am fine. I'm fine every day, every day, every day. It's stuck in my head. There's a song called The Motto by Drake featuring Lil Wayne. That's right, Lil Wayne. He's friends with Lil Schmitty. Lil Wayne can't bother with T's, probably because he can't spell little. Lil Wayne's, that guy strikes me as a guy who hasn't cracked a book in forever. He looked so crazy. I mean, how would you look in the mirror? And I mean, he's a weird looking dude anyway. All right. Lil Wayne's weird looking. That's fine. But then he was like, I'm going to fuck myself up with a ton of graffiti. I mean, he went off. Like he has tattoos on his face and on his head. He will be the first person in the world to get a tooth tattoo. I mean, he will figure out a way to do it. He will invent the technology. Lil Wayne, every day, he's thinking about it. You know that song, The Motto. You know that song, don't you? That was sent to me by a listener. Our friend Sarah J sent me that song. Because she was like, hey, I'm tired of hearing you talk about 80s rock, so please listen to this song. Actually, that wasn't exactly what she said, but it was nice for her to send that to me. But look, I like newer music, folks. I'll tell you that. I made the mistake of buying the Passion Pit album a couple of months ago when I still had disposable income. And by the way, I take that back. It wasn't a mistake because here's the thing. I saw a video online for a song called I'll Be All Right. I'll Be All Right Without You, or I'll Be All Right? I don't remember the name of the song because I won't say, well, I'll be all right. I had to back away from the microphone there, folks, because your ears are so tender. But the video was great. It was set in an art gallery, and I saw it, and I was like, God damn, this is a fucking amazing song. And I didn't know who Passion Pit was, because again, folks, I'm old. I'm an old man. I live at 157 Riverside Avenue. That's where all of my musical heroes live. Me and REO Speedwagon and Cheap Trick, we're all on that block. But then some days, eventually, someone will drive down 157 Riverside Avenue and they're playing something like The Motto by your friends Drake and Lil Wayne. And I'm like, hey, what the fuck was that? That happened to me this weekend. I was in a cab this weekend, and the cab driver decided that I would like his music, and I would like it very loud. So I said, all right, that's fine. And he cranked it up, and I heard a song, and I'm going, God damn, I love this song. What is this song? So in the old days, you would have to remember bits and pieces of the lyrics and then ask somebody what it was, or maybe you'd have to actually talk to your fucking cab driver. Nobody wants that to happen, right? But instead, here's what I did, folks. I forgot. I remembered. I forgot and remembered at the same time. I forgot that I had the capabilities of figuring it out, and then immediately I remembered that I have a computer in my pocket at all times. So I took out my phone, and as the song is playing, I'm like, this song's a fucking jam. What is it? And so I Shazammed a song in a cab. What a weird meeting of old and new. Like, I mean, because again, cabs have been around since the 18th century, and Shazamming has been around since yesterday. So I'm like, boom, look at that. I'm marrying two separate technologies from two separate time frames, time periods. And so I Shazammed a song in a cab. It was awesome. So, so that's what I do, folks. So the Passion Pit album, I bought that, and again, I bought that 8 months ago when I had dough. But, I will tell you this, when you buy an album, because here's the thing, I want to like certain music. Like, you can buy singles and stuff now, but if I hear a single that I really like, sometimes I'll take the leap and buy the album because I really want to like all of that music. Not realizing that I only like that song and then I get fucked by buying an album. But I bought the Passion Pit album, and it had that song I'll Be All Right on there, but then it had the song Take a Walk, which I'm sure you've all heard a million times. It's been, I think, 1,000 commercials, and it was at the Grammys and everything. So there's no greater joy than buying an album for one song and then hearing a better song on that album. That's pretty cool, because then you're like, oh, I got at least 2 songs for my $10, and then the rest of it is just kind of there, and it's okay, and that's fine. And it's the old days again, where you buy an album, you're like, yeah, I love these 2 songs, and the rest of it is garbage, but I was happy to pay $17.99 at Flipside. Because that's how much albums used to be, for fuck's sake. You would go in.
Yeah.
Remember when CDs first came out? They're like $24 now for this new technology. And now you find CDs laying in the curb. I mean, it's like ridiculous. Speaking of that, by the way, folks, I pulled up here outside of Lily's house today, and I went to park, and there was a perfect parking spot directly in front of her apartment building. However, on the sidewalk, there's a couch. And I think we know that my fear of bed bugs will not let me get anywhere near any furniture in the street. Fuck street furniture. Not interested. And the worst part, when I pulled up, there was a dude sitting on that couch, and I'm like, good luck getting bitten by creatures from the prehistoric age, because it's going to happen. You're going to take home eggs. I hope you like it. And he was eating an orange. Here's the thing. I pulled up, this dude sitting on the couch eating an orange. All right? And I love the fact, there's two things that could have happened with this guy. One, he lives in one of these buildings around here, and he's like, man, it's really nice outside. I would love to go outside and enjoy some citrus, but I don't want to stand around the whole time. I spy with my little eye a street couch. Grabbed some fucking citrus and burst out of his door, went and sat down and enjoyed himself. Or he happened to be walking down the street with an orange, and he's like, God, I'm so tired. I'm even too tired to peel this orange. I can't wait to get home and enjoy it. But man, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I am so tired. If only I could use the vitamins inside of this orange to propel me back to my house. But I can't, because I can't peel it. And I don't want to sit on the street. Oh, what's that? A street couch! And the guy pulled up a fucking just chair and, well, not a chair. He didn't pull up a chair. He pulled up a street couch. Stupid. And then he just sat there, and because when I drove up, he was peeling his orange on the street couch. And I would not park by him because here's why. I knew the bedbugs he was their new host. All right. So he was going to take all the bedbugs home, and that's fine. But it doesn't matter. I can't rely on street citrus to be my bedbug decoy. All right. I can't take the chance that somehow they will be on him and he doesn't taste right because he's got citrus in him. And so then they march over to me, because here's the thing. As you know, as we learned about bedbugs this year, folks, they will walk 100 feet to get to you if they smell blood. So I thought of that as I pulled up and I went to park there. And in my head, I'm like, well, that's not 100 feet away from this couch. And if they see my car and it's nice and it's red and they realize that I live in there, and maybe I have like some sort of weird residue bedbug alert on me from them being around me before. So, I mean, I don't know. They might go, oh, this guy's a previous victim. It's like when in prison, when you're a punk, everybody knows you're a punk. Well, now I'm a bedbug punk, and I don't want that to be the fucking case. So if bedbugs on this side of town, they realize that I'm a bedbug punk, there's something they feel about me, they smell about me, there's something about me they can figure out. I don't want to even give them the chance. So I just kind of drove past street citrus and let them chill there on the couch, did a U-turn, and I parked as far away from the building as I could. I'm literally in the farthest parking spot away you can get from Lily's. And then by the time I got into the building, street citrus was gone. It was just a pile of peels. And then I never saw him walk away, so I don't know if fucking the bedbugs pulled him into the couch, like he got fucking hoisted in like the final scene of Phantasm, like fucking Angus Scrimm, and the bedbugs reached through and went, boy, and dragged him into the fucking couch. That seems stupid that would be, that's what I go to. How weird is that that's what I go to? Hey, I think the guy from Phantasm and some bedbugs live in that street couch, and they dragged this guy in. God damn it. But you explain it to me, folks. You explain it to me. All I know is I did a U-turn and then street citrus was gone. He was just a pile of peels. I can't explain that. Got to call the Sci-Fi Channel. So I parked as far away as I possibly could from street citrus, or from street couch, and the bedbugs. Oh, bedbugs. Not a fan. All right. So what was I talking about before street citrus wandered in? I do this every day. God damn it, get that out of my head. You're not even here. You have no interest in paying attention. I was talking, and Lily's like rummaging through papers. She knocks some stuff over. She grabs her legal pad. I'm just like, why am I even bothering?
Notes, but so far
you don't have to.
Story.
Don't say you're taking notes.
Couch.
That's a lie. You're taking notes.
So
I love that you're taking notes. Like because you put on your little glasses. You're like Mrs. Hotchkiss and all those like Playboy cartoons.
I do. I take name notes.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Street Couch is the name of the show. I like it.
All right, done. Sold. Street Couch, folks.
Unless something better comes along in the next 2 hours.
Here's the name of the song. Every day. That's the name of the show, not the song. All right.
You were talking about being a prison punk to
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, see, I might have the mark on me.
bed bugs.
So I don't want bed bugs to sniff me out. And I've been in hotels, too, the past few fucking days. I don't want that to be the case. If they, because I checked them, I tore them all apart, looking. So there were no bugs there. I got a scare in one of the hotels. Like I went in and there was there were bits, like crunchy round things, like underneath the mattress, and bed bugs leave their exoskeletons behind. That's the whole. I learned all of that shit. But so then I put these little bits up, and I'm using my phone to look at. I'm a fucking psychopath, but I stayed in there. I figured I was fine because then I Googled it and I checked to see if there were bed bugs and all that stuff in these hotels, and it turned out that there weren't, or at least Google doesn't know about it yet. Every day. So yeah, so I Shazammed a song. I'll tell you this. I Shazammed Thrift Shop by Macklemore. And what's funny? Talking about the like old man, young person type of thing, where I'm like, well, I'm in a cab and I'm old and an adult, but then I hear the song, and so I Shazammed it. I'm like, well, that's what a young person would do. It was like a young person song, and I kind of liked it. But here's unfortunately what made me more of an old person. I then went to my iPhone to the little notepad, and I typed in Macklemore Thrift Shop to remember it for later. Pardon my coughing. I still have a chest thing. But yeah, so now I have a note, like on my notepad, Macklemore Thrift Shop. I don't know what to remind me to do, to listen to it again. I don't know. To buy it perhaps when I get money ever again. Sorry, I spent all of my disposable income on Passion Pit. Nothing I can do about it. Got to get that new Justin Timberlake album. By the way, I have his first two albums. I love Justin Timberlake. I'm a fan of that music, and then the song Suit and Tie came out, and everybody's like, oh God, it's just pedestrian. It's just so bad. And I'm like, why does everybody have to shit on everything? That's a great song. It is a great it's a breezy, catchy, summer fucking song single. That's all it is. The only bad part of it is he lets Jay-Z come in and fucking ruin it in the middle. It's like, why are you, dude, we don't need that. I understand we're bringing guys in for guest verses because they have the power and the fans and you're crossing over and whatever the fuck. But if that song doesn't have the Jay-Z verse in it, or Jay-Z verses, or Jay-Z fucking 9 minutes, it seems like, then that song's awesome. You can dance to that fucking song all goddamn day. That's a great song. And it's just, when I bought, what was the Love, Sex, what was the first album? What the fuck was it? I don't know.
Sexy was the second, wasn't it?
Dude, Rock Your Body, you know that song? That's as close to Michael Jackson off the wall type songs as we're going to get. I mean, it's fucking fantastic. It's so great. And by the way, I say this firmly as a guy who doesn't listen to a ton of music. So there could be a million other people who sound more like Michael Jackson or that kind of breezy, fucking awesome, fun, dance-type songs. I loved Suit and Tie. I thought it was a great song. But I will say this. Then I streamed the album. I was in my hotel room and I listened to the Timberlake album. I'm going to need about 10 more listens before that album grows on me. Because Suit and Tie is a jam. And what was the other one? Strawberry Bubblegum Girl? Was that what it's called? That song kind of leaped out at me. I don't know. What are you making faces at me for? I didn't write it.
How old is Justin Timberlake?
Who cares? Who cares?
Strawberry Bubblegum Girl sounds like something Justin Bieber should be writing.
Maybe he did. Maybe they had a Justin compilation. They went Justin Squared on you. Maybe they did that.
Justin Squared.
That's right. Maybe they should do that. They cut that album and make every fucking teenage white girl faint. Like literally, hey, Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber are working on an album. What? All the air gets sucked out of their lives. All right. What am I talking about? I'm confused, folks. I apologize. I was driving here today and I saw a living meme. You know how there's, memes, the hater's gonna hate meme and all that kind of stuff. You ever hear the phrase 0 fucks given, like online? I saw a dude, I wanted to take his photo and put him online and just have 0 fucks given because he was the living embodiment of the phrase 0 fucks given. Like he was the kind of guy, when I looked at him, I actually went, all right. Like I was so happy for him because he was just a crazy white nerd. Like he was an older man. He's got to be 40. So he's a little younger than me. That's my guess. But he had a brush mustache, like one of those fuller brush type of Ron Swanson mustaches. And he had a Jew fro, like crazy tight pin curl, really high up on his head fro. And he was riding a bike on the street with headphones on, not like Beats by Dre headphones and not earbuds, big blue, old school, like I wouldn't have been shocked if he had an 8-track player somewhere on him because it was like the gigantic fucking cans and the crazy Jufro, which was, of course, spewing out all over around the fucking headphones. And then he had that thick mustache. He had like a schnoogel face. And that's not going to make any sense to anybody. But think of what somebody would, if you hear the word schnoogel, think of what that person would look like. Just like cross-eyed with like a turned up pig nose kind of and like a bad smile and like crooked teeth. He just looked like that. He looked like somebody drew a weirdo, all right? And he was riding a bicycle, but it wasn't It could have been a recumbent bike, which would have been fucking hysterical. But instead, it was a bicycle, but it had really tall handlebars and a tiny like frame body and little tires. You ever seen those bikes? It wasn't like a 10-speed or like a cool BMX bike. It was just like, it was the kind of bike. All right, when you would go stay with your grandmother in Wisconsin and she'd go, hey, there's bikes in the garage. And you'd go out there and it was this bike from like 1911 with one weird wheel and then two other small wheels. Actually, it wasn't like that, but it was sort of like that. It was just a weird bike. It was a bike from fucking the past. And he's on it with his fucking weirdness and just driving. And he was riding in the lane. He wasn't on the sidewalk. He was in traffic. So he was blocking it and people are honking and he's just driving with his headphones on and I went to pass him and I looked at him and he's just fucking biking and he's really intensely biking and sweating and then he looked up and he just kind of like smiled, like his Schnoogle smile, and I'm just like, God damn, zero fucks given. That's who that dude is. He's the living embodiment of zero fucks given. And I actually went, all right. Like, haha, thumbs up, dude. You keep being you and everybody's going to continue to hate you, but you don't care, right? Go ahead and live that life. I'm back in town, folks. I've been traveling. I've been in like 4 hotels and on 8 planes, and it's been crazy. It's been a crazy trip. I canceled Detroit. Here, I'll tell you this story. I canceled Detroit. Unfortunately, I postponed it. I want to reschedule it. I still have not spoken to the guys who run the Detroit theater. I called them to cancel, and I spoke to a guy, but I didn't talk to the guy who runs the theater. Okay. I spoke to a person who was working there and he was like, oh my God, you got to call this person. I said, absolutely. But please make sure you know that I'm sorry. It was a week out. I think I talked about this last week. I've called twice more and nobody's called me back. Nobody sent me an email. I don't know if they cashed my check. I got to check that out because I sent a check and I don't mind if they cash my check. I assumed that I was going to lose the money, but what I'd like to do is negotiate with them to where they held that so that I could still come and reschedule the date. But it's really hard to fucking do if they don't call me. I don't know what the fuck to do. So, but that's fine. I'll get a hold of them eventually. Or I will just send a few of you out with torches to the fucking Box Theater in Mount Clemens and go, hey, call Mike. What the fuck? So I had to cancel that because I was traveling last week. I can't go into what I was doing. I've been told. I checked and I was like, how much detail can I give? And I was told none. Just suffice to say, I had to do something that was work related and I had to be in Louisiana to do it. And I part of me wants to tell you about my week there now, but without being able to say what I was doing, it doesn't make any sense. So I should probably hold that story, right? Yeah? Lily says yes. But suffice to say that I was in Louisiana for a while. I was in Baton Rouge. And then like I mentioned that I was in Baton Rouge on my page, and then people are you guys are great because I always assume everybody listens to me the second my voice comes out. But I know that's not true. I mean, people live their lives and they do their things and they go out their business and maybe they listen to it a year later. Who the fuck knows? I found that out with Wood Rocket when the fucking idiot, or I shouldn't even say their fucking name, the porn idiots. When I was like, hey man, let's get me a job there. And then, for 2 weeks, people have been writing me going, I wrote that guy. Good for you. By the way, that guy hates me and everybody who knows me. And not that I fucking care. Again, I was stooping to, that's how desperate I am, that I thought a porn company would give me a fucking job and I'd like it. But regardless. So if you're listening to this now, well, then if you're listening in order, you would have heard that show where I told you to stop writing the guy, I guess. But the thing is, people are behind, so then they will listen and they will copy me. They'll CC me on the email. Mike Schmidt's the best. He's the greatest. You should really hire him. He's so good. I'm like, oh, dude. All right. But part of me doesn't fucking care, quite frankly. I mean, they're a porn company, for fuck's sake. Isn't that funny? I wanted a job there 3 weeks ago, and now I'm just like, fuck you guys. I'm so terrible. I just fucking turn on a dime. So I think everybody listens to me right away. So when I talked about having to cancel Detroit and I was going to be flying or whatever, so then I put on my page that I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and people write me and they're like, are you here for a show? Where's the show? Did I miss it? What's going on? And it's like, dudes, believe me, I announce shows months in advance. If I was doing Baton Rouge, I wouldn't announce it a week early because it would be me in the room. Maybe I might not even go to that show. I got to be honest. If I book Baton Rouge a week out, I don't even show up for that goddamn show. That is an empty room that I paid for. That's it, and I deserve it. But I wouldn't sell ticket one if I announced the show a fucking week beforehand. So, and then there were nice people in New Orleans who were like, "Hey, we will come up and hang out with you. You know, what are you doing?" And I just didn't have the time. I wanted to, and I couldn't. But I'll tell you all about that another time, I suppose. But who knows? Why would I say that? Who knows? Of course I'm going to tell you about it. Why would I not? What if I didn't? What if I just loved that? Believe me, that would be the one thing I didn't tell you. Everything else I've told you. That would be the what if that I chose to make that 4 days the one thing I never covered. Yeah, I didn't want to talk about it. Idiot. Today is Wednesday. I'm recording on a Wednesday, folks. I'm back in town. I got in yesterday night. Wednesday, March 13th. Today marks the 20th anniversary of the day I met my wife. Today, Wednesday, March 13th. Yeah, we celebrate that like an actual anniversary. So we have our wedding anniversary in August, and then we have, our birthdays, of course, and then March 13th is our day anniversary, the day we met. So yeah, we met at a club when I used to do clubs. See, I do stand-up, and it's like, everybody's like, "Oh, dude, what did you ever get out of stand-up?" Guess what? I got my wife. That's the main thing I got. I worked at a club called Wackos. I was in Chicago. I was in California doing stand-up, and then I had to move back to Chicago, and I wound up living in an apartment with my brothers. It was Glenn. No, Glenn wasn't there. It was Andy, Scott, and Lenny. And the four of us were living in a one-bedroom apartment, and that was great. Let me tell you something. It was so fantastic to live in an apartment with three brothers under one roof with only one bedroom to get away from one another. And just this fucking sealed Tupperware bowl full of hate. Just a bunch of dudes who were ready. Are you okay? You gonna spit water? All right. It was just, and again, we loved each other as brothers, but then we had that thing where we all wanted to fucking murder one another. Maybe that was just me. That could have been just me. I have no idea. But I had a thing with my brother Lenny where he and I would get along, and then we wouldn't get along, and we had a weird relationship, Lenny and I. And then there was, Andy and Scott. And Scott was the youngest, but at the time, this is 93, so Scott's what, 20? Yeah, he's 20. So he's 20. I'm 24 at the time. What am I, 67? No, I'm 25, right? No. Yeah, I'm 25 because it's early in 93. So I moved back and I'm living there. And then I started doing stand-up in Chicago because I had lived here in California and started doing stand-up here. And then I was living with a woman, and that kind of went sour. And because here's why, because I was living with this woman and her husband. So that really, and her children, one of whom was my age. And that really made things odd. Because her husband was not, I don't think he knew what was going on. Bullshit. Yes, he did. But still, it was bad. And I was living with her, and things were going okay until then they weren't. And so I had to leave. And I had nowhere to go. My car died. Literally, like, my car became just a fucking doorstop, and it was in her back driveway. And I had no escape. I had nowhere else to go. I was working at a fucking pizza job. Like, I was dead end central. Okay. So I had to go back to Chicago. And I went back, and I moved in with my brothers in this apartment. And I started doing stand-up. Lenny got me into doing stand-up on the road. He introduced me to some people at some clubs, and I wound up doing some showcases. That's where I met Pardo, actually. I did a showcase at a club called KJ Riddles. And by the way, I'm probably going to cover a lot of ground you've heard if you've heard this show, but indulge me this one time. And new people, settle in. This is going to be great. You've never heard this stuff. And I'm going to be hopscotching around a little bit too, but when I moved back in 93, I started to showcase at clubs. I showcased at KJ Riddles, this club, and that's where I met Pardo. And this is when I was also, by the way, I should tell you this, I was looking good back then. I actually have a videotape. I should put it up. This is when I was still wearing, I had a silk shirt on. Dude, I wore a silk shirt and fucking like Cavaricci black pants. And man, I looked fucking good. And so I get on stage, and I was there to showcase to get club work, but they were also filming their cable show that night. They had a local access cable show at, live Monday night at Riddles or whatever. And Pardo was the host. So I saw him and I sat there slack-jawed at how fucking amazingly funny he was. And he was cracking me up. And I was just there. They had certain people who were going to be on the cable show, but I was just there to audition. And it was funny because this is right when the first World Trade Center bombing happened. So again, and by the way, if you do police work here, you're going to go, hey, these dates don't match up. I'm trying the best I can, folks. I'm sitting in a chair in a stripper's kitchen. Give me a break. I don't have the fucking book of my life cracked open. I just have the book of my head cracked open, and it is fucking incomplete. By the way, you know who has not cracked open the book of my head or the book of my life? Lil Wayne. All right. So I go to audition at the at Riddles, and I look amazing. And then I get called on stage, and I did a set, and because at the time, I did topical. Like everybody else is doing their pedestrian kind of stuff, and not everybody was bad. There was a guy named Joe Bardetti, who it's funny, Mex right now just flinched at his house. Joe Bardetti just flinched, or Mex flinched when I said that name. Joe Bardetti actually used to work where Mex worked. And then he kept telling everybody, hey, I'm going to be a comic. And then he actually became a comic. And he was a nice guy, funny, really good guy. And he was a guy, he was like 6'4" and Johnny Jaw, like straight good looking, really good looking, to the point where you're like, why the fuck are you doing comedy? You don't get to do comedy. You can get laid already. What the fuck? You couldn't possibly have any problems or angst to bring to the stage. But he was funny. He did a nice job. And I think he books a corporate thing in Chicago. Like he has a company that sends out corporate comedians. I don't know, but Joe was he was really cool to me. So he was there to audition, and he was actually filming the cable show. So I went up and I did topical bits, and I talked about the World Trade Center thing, which had just happened, like that day or the day before, and I did a whole chunk on it, and killed, fucking destroyed, and walked off. And Pardo goes, well, and Pardo was shocked because he didn't know me, he didn't know who I was, and so I was really excited because he then started referencing me from the stage. And Jimmy, that's what he does, where he'll talk and he'll go, he would do a joke and he'd go, Schmidt's brother, how do you feel about that? Like I was Schmidt's brother like the rest of the night, but he kept calling me back in. And I was so happy to be included, and especially by this guy who I saw as a genius. And then afterwards, I wanted to try to get club work, and they're like, yeah, we can book you definitely. And then they put me in their television show, which I think I still have I have the tape of that. Wow. They used me in there. I was there to audition for work. Like this is the first time they're ever seeing me, and I was in the cable show. It was me, Joe Bardetti, and another guy they used, and which was amazing. So I started doing gigs around town, and I went to the Barrel of Laughs at Sinisa's Winery, which I've talked about on here before, and I've talked about this night before, actually, the night I showcased. And then Lenny got us a gig at... well, I apologize. I was working at the Comedy Womb one night, and Lenny was at Wacko's in Berwyn. And I was going to meet up with Lenny later, but I was going to try to grab a ride from a comic because I didn't have a car. I was getting taken places and stuff like that. So I got dropped off at the Womb, and Lenny went off to Wacko's in Berwyn, and he told me that his friend Vicky would pick me up, and then she would take me to Berwyn. So I went up to do time at Wacko's, or I'm sorry, at the Womb, and again, looking very good. I had a silk jacket on, and I had a baseball hat on because I had long hair, and looked good, folks. In the old days, I was something to behold, not the shell of a man you see before you today. So I went up there, and Vicky showed up, and I didn't know that she was coming to watch the show. I thought that she was just taking me. I should tell you this about Vicky. All right, Vicky, she was Lenny Slam. All right, she was somebody Lenny used to bang all the time. And it was just, but I don't think they were dating. It was just that thing where they'd get together, twice a month and fuck. They'd drink and fuck and whatever they did. And I liked Vicky. She was nice. Well, one night she called the apartment looking for Lenny, and he wasn't there. So I wound up talking to her, and I talked to her for like 3 hours. Because I'm interesting and fun, and I'm bored out of my skull sitting in my fucking apartment doing nothing, and I got no friends or no people, and it was nice to hear a female voice. So I talked to her, and But that's just that's who I am. I mean, I look. I'll talk to you. I don't give a fuck. I'll talk to you. So we wind up talking all night one night, and I actually done that before when I was in high school. I'm a terrible sloppy seconds guy apparently, and this is not a good thing to say because I know this next person listens to this podcast, but I won't say their name. Someone else in high school who used to date my brother one night came over to see him, and he wasn't there. So then she and I wound up in a car for a while. All right, that's all. I'm not going to say names or anything like that. But she and I wound up going at it in a car. Not going at it, like not seriously going at it, but second base maybe. If I can use a baseball analogy. Well, because I don't want to make it sound like I banged her, because I didn't. I didn't get laid till I was 20. No, this was my brother's girlfriend.
You're a horrible person.
Well, it wasn't really a girlfriend. That's the thing. It was like they just kind of, I don't know what the boundaries were. I have no idea. And quite frankly, didn't care. And you know what? She obviously didn't know what the boundaries were, and she didn't care because she was like, hey, let's go. All right, let's go. I don't give a fuck. If you shoot a starter's gun, I'm going to run. So, so that was in high school. I had met a girl who was dating Lenny, and then I wound up in her car, and we wound up going at it one night. But not again. But I stressed that we didn't go at it. Fuck, whatever. I'm trying to dance around this because again, she listens. So then Vicky, one night I talked to her on the phone for like 4 hours. So then she shows up at the Comedy Womb. And she walks in with her friend. I didn't know she was bringing a friend. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. So she brings her friend Karen into the club. And I didn't know they were coming to watch the actual show. I thought they were just going to pick me up afterwards. So they came in and they watched the show. And I went up and I'm fucking hysterical. Let's face it. I'm charming, handsome, and loved. We know that. So I walked off stage and then I was talking to Vicky and Karen. And Vicky, I had already gotten any kind of like residual weirdness out of the way because I had talked to her on the phone for 3 hours. So I kind of knew her. She knew me. She knew what I was doing in town. And so she was kind of being real friendly to me. But her friend, Karen, was she was being standoffish. But at the same time, she was like complimentary, but also kind of looking at me like sideways. How do I put this? All right. Have you ever seen a scene in a movie where there's instant chemistry between a man and a woman, but the woman doesn't want to give into it right away because she's not supposed to? And she'll give you that look. And sometimes the look is even accompanied by the phrase, "You're trouble." That's what I was getting from Karen. I think that she knew that I was trouble because I'm again, charming, handsome, and loved. And so I was being very friendly and flirty with Karen and with Vicky because I don't give a fuck at this point. I'm flirting with everybody. But I'm just being nice, but in a nice way. Not like again, Vicky's Lenny's girl, and by the way, not for me, quite frankly. I mean, she's very nice, but I knew all the history with her and Lenny, and I got no interest in that. But Karen, however, is a different story. So Karen, however, is giving me that the aloof chick thing where she's just kind of like, but I can see that she thinks that I'm fascinating, but she won't give into it at all. Like she wants nothing to do with the dance. So I say, all right. So I switch gears as we often do, as you know, when you're playing the game, and the game is great. How great is the game, folks? You right? You know how fun it is to play the game. So I switch tactics and I decide, well, you know what? I'm gonna be a little burr in the saddle. I'm gonna be kind of a dick now at this point. Let's do that. Because I was being friendly and charming and everything like that, but also flirty with Karen, and kind of complimenting her and so then I was like, oh, okay, well, so she's going to give me the stiff arm. Well, then fuck it, I'll play that guy. So we left and we got in the car, and Karen was driving and she was like, what are you doing in town? And I said, well, I'm only here for a little while. And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, yeah. I said, my wife in California is waiting for me to come back. I said, I'm only in town to do some dates. And she goes, you have a wife? I said, yeah, I have a wife and 2 kids in California. And Vicky's like, you didn't say that to me on the phone. I said, well, why is it important that you know? I don't, I'm in town. I'm staying with my brother, doing some time, getting in with some clubs out here, and then I'm heading back to California. And Karen's like, who's your wife? I said, my wife's Stephanie. She's back in California. And I said, we have 2 kids, and one just arrived, and it's really hard for me to leave. But this is what I do for a living, and I have to come out here and try to kind of get some work, and it's going to work out. I think and so, Vicky in the back seat is completely freaked out because she knows Lenny told her that I live here. Karen has no idea who I am or what I do, but then Karen's just going, you're not married. And I go, I am married. And, so then we start to so we've gone from, me kind of flirting and trying to break down her walls a little bit to now I'm like, fuck you. I'm going to David and Maddie this fucking thing. Let's moonlighting this thing. I'll just be a fucking obstinate dick and we'll see how you deal with it. So, and then she's just like, you're not married. I go, I am. I go, I don't even know why is that? Why would you think I wasn't married? Well, you're not wearing a ring. I said, I don't wear my ring when I do shows. It's ridiculous because a heckler says something about it and I can't do my show. So I'm like essentially just improvising a ridiculous conversation. So she's like, And so she starts to give me kind of attitude, and I give it right back to her. And Vicky's in the back seat just going, something's happening in the front seat that I am not a party to, but that's fine. We go to Wacko's, and Lenny's there to perform, and they have a bar. And I can't remember if we went to another bar or if we just stayed at that bar. But as we're there, we're talking. There's other comedians, and we're all kind of getting along. And but I can't leave Karen alone. Like I won't leave her side because there's something about her, and she won't leave me either. She starts talking to other people, but then she's always looking at me. So we're hanging out in this bar, and Vicky ordered a Grolsch beer, okay, and there was some challenge where Grolsch has a bottle cap that. It has like it almost looks like a not a wine cork. I can't even explain it, but it was this thing where it was a special cap where you had to separate. People would collect them, like in the Midwest, pop tops. People make a pop top chain or whatever. All right, well, there was a Grolsch bottle cap, and there was it had a rubber insert, and if you could separate that from the other one, then it was like a prize. I don't fucking know. So Vicky was telling us that. And I was like, well, so just do it. And she's like, no, it's really hard. That's the whole point. I said, I can do that. And Karen's like, come on, you can't do that. I go, of course I can. Why? Who can't separate a bottle cap? So we start talking, and I have it in my hand, and I'm trying to do it, just absentmindedly, and I can't do it. Like it's bordering on impossible. Like to pull apart. I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but it's to pull apart this metal and rubber insert away from the actual cap, so then it looks completely different. And there's a message. I don't know, a fucking secret code from Grolsch Joe. I have no idea what there is to look for, but it's something that people want. So in my head, I get it because I go, yeah, of course I can do it. I've done it a million times. So we're talking, and we're all joking, we're having fun, and I'm with Karen, and I'm talking, and I'm trying to do it, and I realize I can't do it. And I've talked a bunch of shit that I can do it easily. So I'm going to look like an idiot in front of this girl. And I don't want to look like an idiot in front of this girl because I've spent the entire night cultivating a fake cool guy. So the last thing I want to do is look like a fucking dope. So we're talking, and I'm fiddling with the cap or whatever. And then and I say, excuse me, I'm going to hit the restroom. And I take the cap, and I'm really cool out there talking to comics. I'm funny, and I'm making Karen laugh, and I'm charming, and I'm winning her over too. I remember in the car I was talking about wife and kids and stuff like that, and I'm still maintaining that story. But now we're flirting and kind of having fun, and we're getting along, and so it's going really well, and I can feel that it's going really well. But I don't want to blow it by fucking up with this cap. So I excuse myself, and I head to the restroom, and as cool as I was in the bar, as cool and as fun and as interesting and as smart and as funny as I was in the bar, I check that at the bathroom door, and I walk in and the door closes, and I'm like, I gotta get this fucking cap loose. Like I lose my mind in the bathroom. So I'm like banging it on the sink, and I'm hitting it into the wall, and I'm trying not to dent it, and I'm trying to pull it apart. And then there's a hook in the bathroom where you can hang your coat in the stall. Okay, you know that? So I loop the metal of the cap around the coat hook, and I'm pulling as hard as I can to separate the cap from this insert. And I'm pulling it super hard, and I'm pulling it, and I'm God damn it, I can't believe I can't get it done. So then I'm like almost hanging all my body weight off of it, trying to get it to separate. And in my head, and my fingers are bleeding, like they're starting to get eaten by the cap. They're starting, because I can't blow it. And then part of me is not even thinking, you know what? If you walk out of here covered in blood, that's not going to look good either. You walk out of the bathroom. So I'm doing this with the Grolsch cap, and I'm pulling, and all of a sudden, ting, ting, ting. In my head, I'm like, I did it. I fucking did it. I separated it. And I look, and I ripped the coat hook off of the bathroom stall. Grolsch cap completely intact. I pick it up off the ground, I wash it, and I go, I gotta give up. I just gotta give up. And I walk outside, and I put the cap back on the table, and nobody cares. Nobody said anything because nobody noticed it was gone, because it was literally something mentioned in passing, and I made it into a large deal. Nobody else cared. It's not like everybody was going, I can't wait till Mike gets that Grolsch cap fixed. Nobody even knew I had it in my fucking hand. I made it a thing because I thought I was going to impress Karen, impress everybody, and do that, but nobody else cared. So when I walked out, I put the Grolsch cap on the table. Nobody gave a shit. The waitress came and threw it away. That was it. So I'm talking to Karen. We're hitting it off, and eventually, we wind up out in a car. and I think we were in Lenny's car. I don't know if we were in Karen's Beretta or if we went to Lenny's car, but it was just it had gone too well, and then we get in the car, and then we're all over each other. I mean, it was crazy. And again, I've been in town, and so we're making out in the car, and she's like, you don't have a wife or kids, do you? And I'm like, no, of course I don't. Now that we're alone in the car, I can tell her that. And then she's like, okay. And then we wind up making out in the car. On the night we met, 20 years ago today, the night we met, we wind up in a car making out after, just a couple of hours of banter. That's how good I am, folks. And I actually, I may have tried some things. And maybe reached up a shirt, did all that kind of stuff, and I got, I think I got undershirt and over bra, but then I got shot down, and that was fine. I was able to, I stood down, but we were making out and talking, and then she's like, where do you live? What are you doing? And we exchanged information, and then eventually, behind us, they started flashing headlights at us, and it was Lenny and Vicky in another car because they wanted to fucking go home. And I realized, I looked at the dashboard clock, and it's like 2:30 in the morning. We had been up all night, out in the car for at least 2.5 hours, talking and making out, and just kind of finding out about each other. So I said, look, I have a road trip coming up. I'm going out of town. I do stand up, and I said, can I have your phone number? And she said, yeah. So I got her phone number, and I kissed her goodbye, and we split. That was 20 years ago tonight, actually. And then I wound up in Lenny's car driving home, and he then wanted to know everything that had happened, wanted to know what I had done and how far I had gotten, and he wanted all this information. And I'm like, dude, because you know what? Normally, you talk about that stuff, you go into it, but I didn't feel like it because there was something about her. I knew. I know it sounds dumb, but you just know when it's different. It wasn't just some chick in a bar that I wound up. We had spent all that time talking, and I knew about her and her family, and I knew I would see her again, and I knew even if she said no, I knew I would see her again. So Lenny and I get home, and then I never know. I'm bad at the calling thing. The don't call, don't text, don't do that, don't do this. So I think I called her the next morning at 7 a.m. Like literally, it was that crazy. And I was like, "You want to do something?" She said yes. And again, I have no car and very little means of support at that time. So she picks me up, and we went to Baker Square. If you guys know what that is, it's like a Caro's, but with amazing pie. Like it's like a Marie Callender's, okay, in the Midwest. But they have a pie called a French silk pie, which is like a huge seller. And so Baker Square, it's a 24-hour joint that's like Marie Callender's in the Midwest. So we went there for our first date and talked and spent 3 hours talking, and wound up in the car making out again. A lot of car work because she lived with her family. She still lived with her mom and dad, and I lived with 9 brothers. So it wasn't exactly like we wanted to go in and go, hey, everybody clear out. We're going to make out in this room. I mean, a lot of car business. So I had told her that I had a road trip coming up, and she was like, well, I think I'd want to do that. I said, are you serious? Because I was going to have to borrow a car from somebody and make the trip. And I said, would you want to go? And she said, yeah, I would. I said, seriously? I go, well, we can come home that night or we can stay over. I mean, I'll have a hotel room. Because I didn't know, I'm like, I didn't want to presume that I was going to bang her. So I'm like, hey, I have a hotel room. We can stay or we can just come home that night, whatever you want to do. She said, no, I'll go. That'll be fun. And I said, okay. And it was coming up that weekend. I was going to Indiana. I was working with my friend Rex Havens. And Rex would have had to come up from Peoria and pick me up and then take me. But when I found out she could take me, I told Rex, I go, look, don't even sweat it, man. I can get there. So she picks me up, and she's bringing her friend Vicky along for the ride. Because Rex is going to leave that night. And he said that I could have his room and Karen could have the other room. Because I wanted to at least cause the illusion of letting her think that she was going to be able to sleep alone that night. So I'm like, hey, if you come up, I'll there's 2 rooms. Like I'll have Rex's room and you can have your own room. And then she decided to bring Vicky so the 2 of them could be in that room, and also so Vicky could be a buffer to make sure that Karen didn't wind up in my room. Because girls are sneaky. Guys are not sneaky at all, but girls very sneaky. Says the guy who has a wife and 2 kids in California. All right, so then she picked me up to go to the gig, and I checked into the hotel, and the girl behind the front desk, when I checked in, comes on to me like no one has ever come on to me in my life. I mean, I can't even explain it, but for some reason, because I'm charming, handsome, and loved. So I was doing that. I was being me at the desk, and I was being me to the front desk girl, and we're going back and forth. She's like, "Are you staying the night?" I go, "Well, do you have a room for me?" She goes, "I think we do." And I said, "Then I'm staying the night." I go, all that bullshit, just being clever and fun, which they don't get a lot of in Indiana. So I did it, and so this desk clerk immediately, like literally just was like, "Hey, your room's in my vagina." I mean, it was like that crazy of a fucking move. I mean, like she wanted me. So and I'm with Karen and Vicky, who are there in the lobby, and this girl does not care. I mean, she is going for fucking broke. She almost like, hey, pull out your dick and sign here. Like it was that kind of heavy, serious. I mean, because I'd had it a couple of times before, but it's always a surprise when that happens, because usually you're doing legwork. When you look like me, you're doing legwork to try to get girls to like you or try to convince them, because you're all about your personality. I'm never a guy who, on my looks, was able to just score chicks and have panties hit the floor. I was always a guy who had to put a couple of sentences of work together in order to get a girl interested. But this girl, I don't know what it was. Maybe she just had a thing for big fat guys from the Midwest. I have no clue. Well, actually, this is silk shirt me. I look good. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe she had seen me on local access cable. She knew I was a star, god damn it. Are you the guy doing that stuff about the World Trade Center the day after it happened on a local cable access show? You're in, god damn it. Are you Schmidt's brother? I'm going to bang the shit out of you, man. So for some reason, the desk clerk wants me. And so I'm with Karen and Vicky, and they walk off, and I of course, again, here's how bad I was used to this. All right, I had dated girls in the past, but never anything serious, and I used to bang a lot of married girls. That's who I dated, was married girls, because then I could do whatever the fuck I wanted with my life. So this desk clerk is hitting on me, and I realize I'm with Karen and Vicky, but then part of me is just like, well, I mean, we're not dating. We're not really going out. This girl drove me. This girl and I hit it off. I knew that she was the one, and I still even knew that. I knew in my head, I was like, this is a girl that I can actually make something with. But it doesn't matter when a girl is throwing her tits in your face. You're just like, well, why not? You know what I mean? It's just, men are awful. They just are, and by men I mean me. So I'm never one to just stop. Like I'm not going to shut a girl down if that's happening. So I of course, I play along, and I'm like, all right, yeah, well, great. Well, I'm at the show tonight if you want to come by. And I mean, what are you doing? There's 2 girls behind you. You're with 2 girls even. So we go to get our rooms, and then Vicky and Karen do their thing, and I'm separate, and I got to get ready for the show. I go down, I do the show, and I'm hilarious as always. Nobody in Indiana thinks so. However, I think I'm great. And we watch Rex. Rex is great. Afterwards, Rex, he gives us the room key and takes care of that. And so Karen and Vicky are going to go stay in their room, and they go to their room, and then we're going to go out and do stuff, go out and get something to eat. So I go to my room to get some stuff ready, and when I walk in, there's a note that had been slid under my door. And it was from the desk clerk, whose name was Gina, and it basically said, "Hey, I'm available to you tonight. If you want to call me, here's my number. Don't worry, I already know the room number." Smiley face. And I'm standing there with that note in my hand, and again, Karen and I have a thing, and I knew there was a bond there and all that, but it's not often that sort of thing happens. And also, all right, this is going to sound horrendous, but if a girl's going to be that forward, how crazy is the sex going to be? I mean, how crazy is the sex going to be if she's willing to come upstairs and hunt me down and put a note under and basically just say, hey, I'm available to you. She was Mrs. Robinson. That's who she was. Hey, Benjamin, I just want you to know that I'm available to you whenever you're interested. And oh my God, open the door. Unlock the door, please. Unlock the door. So I'm holding the note, and I get this weird, like, I think I got a hard on just reading the note. And then part of me is just like, well, wait, dude, you got to go meet Vicky and Karen in the lobby. And so then I started in my head, I'm sorry, it just happens. You start to think of excuses like, oh, I don't think I can make it. Enjoy yourself and I'll meet you in the lobby in the morning. Like you start thinking of these weird excuses, even though I knew it was different with Karen. But I won't lie. You just, as a guy, I like sex a lot. All right. So, and especially that guy, me, come on, that was Silk Shirt me. Silk Shirt me is getting laid all the time in his brain. And then when it finally looks like it's actually going to happen, it's like, oh man, throw the silk shirt aside and call this desk clerk. So I have the note and I of course put it in my pocket because I'm a genius. And I meet Karen and Vicky in the lobby. So we go to eat, and we're having dinner somewhere. And I'm having fun and being funny, and I'm being clever because I'm charming, handsome, and loved, as you all know. And then at one point, I'm having fun goofing around, and Karen gets up and she uses the restroom, and then Vicky looks at me and she's like, "Hey, we've got that other room there, and I." So that's going to be okay to stay in there. Are we all going to split that, or are we all staying in one room? And I said, no, you guys are fine. You guys can stay in that one room, and I'll stay in the other room. Because I thought she was kidding. And she says, oh, too bad. And she puts her hand on my leg, and she says, because I don't think I can keep my hands off of you.
Jesus Christ.
So the girl that I'm actually interested in is in the bathroom, and I've got a note in my pocket from a desk clerk who wants to climb me like a fucking stairmaster. And now the best friend of the girl who drove me out here is hitting on me, and almost it sounds like proposing a three-way, quite frankly. So then in my head I'm like, are they in on it? Are they like in this together? And I thought maybe this is how they do it. Like Karen leaves and goes to the restroom, then Vicky does the dirty work. I have no idea. But I think because I'm a genius, I actually looked at her and I was like, well, that's your loss. Because I'm funny and because I meant it. But I mean, at that point you have to, because what are you going to do? Hamina. I can't be fucking Jackie Gleason in a bus driver's outfit at a goddamn table. You got to play the role. I'm in a silk shirt, for fuck's sake. I'm Silk Shirt Mike. I know what to say at all times. So Karen comes back and everything gets diffused. And in my head, I'm trying to think, are they going to go to their room and leave me alone? And if they are, am I going to call the desk clerk? Like, what's going to happen? But it turns out we get back to the hotel, and Vicky goes to her room, and Karen comes with me to my room. And we don't do anything except have the most amazing time together. Like, look, we've all had one night stands. We've all brought a girl back, and you wind up, fucking sweating your way through fucking pussy aerobics for however long, and then at the end it's awkward and strange, and you're like, well, okay, good to see you, and here's orange juice or a cab fare, whatever the fuck you got. But Karen and I laughed the whole time in the room. I mean, it was we just and when we weren't doing other things, but I mean, we never did. We didn't clinch it. You know what I mean? We didn't. But I've. It was the best time I had ever had being with somebody in a room all night without having sex. I mean, we're both completely naked and but just laughing and having fun. And usually if I'm in a room with somebody and I'm completely naked and they're laughing, it is not a good time at all. But this time it worked perfectly. And she wasn't complete. She had stockings on still. I remember that. Those could not be removed, but it didn't matter. Everything else was fair game and up for grabs. And we were just learning about each other and young and happy, so goddamn happy. It was so fun. Just an amazing time, and fell asleep together. And then in the morning, I got showered and she got her thing. She went into Vicky's room and got taken care of. They all got dressed and we got in the car to drive home. And And I don't know what happened between the hotel room and the car ride. But on the car ride, Karen was awful to me. I mean, so horrible. Like she kept thinking that me and Vicky were making jokes and like goofing around because I was not changing. I was still being me, but I was being me with her and Vicky, and I think the previous night I had only been me with her, and then for her to see me be me with everybody, maybe it made her think, was that fake or is that just who he is? You know what I mean? I couldn't figure it out, but she was fucking terrible to me. I mean, really fucking mean, and I to the point where I was like, I want to walk home. Like, I don't even want to be here. I shut the fuck up. I just sat there and waited, and she was just fucking rude, and it was just an awful feeling. And she was mean to me and Vicky, and finally we got to my house and they dropped me off, and I in my head I was like, well, I'm never calling her again. Like that was it. I mean, I couldn't believe that the previous night I had had the best time in my life, and then in the car ride it was all invalidated by the fact that for fucking 3 hours she was just so terrible. And in such a bad mood. And in my head I was like, what the fuck just happened? I don't know what just happened. So I didn't call her. I was like, that was it. I was done. And a week went by, and she actually called me, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, nothing." I was one word answer because I wanted nothing to do with her, and she was like, "Well, what are you doing tonight? I'd like to see you." And I said, "I don't know if that's a real good idea." And she's like, "Well, just come on out with me." So I did, and everything was cool. I mean, it was like great. Like there was no big apology or anything like that, but it was back to being what it was. And I think, like I said, I just think a week went by and she realized what had happened. And she didn't owe me really any apology because, quite frankly, I had a fucking note from a desk clerk in my pocket that I was in my head. I was like, why would she have to apologize to you, dude? That you were going to toss her overboard before everything went right. You know what I mean? So I in my head I was just like, you considered things too. So you can't hold this against people, because believe me, I've been judged way too many times in my life to be judging somebody like that, especially somebody who I was interested in, because the good time that we had together completely overwhelmed the bad time. Even though it was shitty for 3 hours, the good times for 6 hours alone in a room was well worth it. So we started dating, man. We started hanging out, and she would come over and she would actually sleep at my brother's house on our futon in the living room. I mean, it was crazy. And we were dating and having a good time. But I always told her I was going back to California. She's like, well, I really want to move to California too. And I said, I understand that. I know you do, but I'm going soon, like now. And I was saying that as a way to provide a barrier between us, because I didn't want to get too caught up in this girl, because I wanted to go back and chase comedy. That was the whole point, was going back to LA and chasing comedy. And also, I never committed to anybody, ever. Like I said, I would date married women, so I didn't have to make a commitment, and I could live my life and do what I wanted. So I would tell Karen all the time, I'm going back to California. I'm going back to California. She's like, yes, I know. Can we just have dinner and enjoy ourselves? But I did that to try to push her away, because I didn't want her caught up in me. Because I wanted to make a quick escape. I won't lie. It was like, just in case it came down to it, I could just leave and not worry about being hurt. There's a movie called Thief. Stars James Caan, written by Michael Mann, directed by Michael Mann. Fantastic movie, one of my favorites of all time. James Caan is an ex-con who now owns car dealerships, and he's a thief. He takes down big jewelry scores. And he gives a speech to Tuesday Weld in the movie, and he says, never be attached to something that you can't walk away from immediately. And not look back. And it's funny because that same theme is echoed in Heat with Michael Mann, when Robert De Niro says that to Al Pacino. Never be attached to something you cannot walk away from in 5 seconds. And I had seen Thief as a kid, and this will sound stupid, but I didn't have a dad. So for some reason, I invested myself in the James Caan character, because he was masculine, he was kind of a tough guy, and I really identified with that because I was a wannabe. And I loved that attitude of never have anything that you can't just fucking leave behind. And I lived that way when I was in Lake Tahoe. Like I said, I would bang married girls. And I would never own things in my house because just in case I had to leave, I didn't want to have to worry about having my favorite teddy bear or a pair of pants or a shirt. I didn't give a fuck. I tried to live my life in a way where I didn't give a fuck about anything. And I really found myself starting to care about this girl. And I knew it from the first time I saw her. So I was trying in my weird way to keep her away from me under the guise of not wanting to hurt her. But in reality, I didn't want to hurt myself. So I kept saying, I'm going back to California. I'm going back to California. She's like, I know, I understand. So then I finally made plans to go back to California. I bought a car and I was going to drive across and go back and do stand-up, start, my career again, the career that I had lost because I had fucking made every bad choice. So we went to Peoria for one final road trip together. And she met me at the hotel. It's so funny. We didn't go together because I was leaving from Peoria to go to California. And I remember seeing her. She was sitting in the parking lot in her car, waiting for me when I showed up. And I was so happy to see her, but also at the same time, I couldn't let myself be that happy. So we went into the room, we checked in, and we hung out, and wound up going to the show. And we went out to a dinner at some pizza joint. I forget where it was. But we took pictures of each other because we had never had photos of each other. And it wasn't a photo together, but I took a picture of her in the booth across from me, and then she took a picture of me in the booth across from her. It's so funny. We still have those photos. And I should tell you this. Karen was a virgin when I met her. She's not anymore.
Good job.
Yeah. Guess what, folks? Like I said, Silk Shirt Mike gets the job done. 20 years later. Finally. So we had that too, where on the night that happened, I looked her in the face and said, are you sure you want to do this? Because in my head, I was going to California. I remember I'm still going to California. Like, I think I even told her at that moment, hey, I'm still going to California. And she was like, yeah, I understand. That's fine. So, cause I didn't want that hang up on me, which is so stupid too, that a guy would think that was a hang up. It should be a really amazingly tender moment. It should be a beautiful thing that this woman is going to share that with you. But in your head, all you're thinking is, well, fuck, I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? It's so stupid. So, so in Peoria, I remember we slept in, and then I got up in the morning and walked her down to her car, and it was sad, but I didn't want it to be sad. I was trying to be all tough. And so, I kissed her and hugged her goodbye. She got in her car and I drove off, went to California, and, came back to California and failed miserably. I told Karen I would call her or whatever, I would write her and stuff, but I was more concerned with getting my career back underway. Well, when I came back here, I decided to stay with the girl who I had had a terrible breakup with before I went back to Chicago, because she had moved out of her husband's place and now had her own place. She's like, you can stay with me if you want. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's a good idea. And she's like, no, come on, it'll be fine. And then I did. And I got a job at a 7-Eleven. I mean, it was just fucking terrible. It was like literally, I just leaped into poverty. I came back here. I was working at 7-Eleven and I was staying at her place. And then things went really bad one night. And she set fire to all of my stuff.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and get year 2. That's in there. A year 2 or I don't know when that is, year 3. I don't remember. But I had a bad night with her.
Yeah.
And then I had to leave. So I had nowhere to go in California. So I went and I called my buddy Sam. He was a comedian. And I was like, dude, I'm desperate. Like, I have nowhere to go. He's like, well, you can come and crash on my floor if you want. But Sam had a girlfriend and a baby, like a child, like a daughter. She was 3, Brittany. But he goes, you can sleep on my floor in the living room. And I said, all right, I can do that. So I needed to get a job because I should tell you this. I was working at 7-Eleven and I walked in on New Year's Eve. I think I told the story on here. And I've had 2 different 7-Eleven jobs. One of the other, there's one that ended poorly.
Poorly?
That wasn't my choice. And then there was one that ended poorly. That was my choice. I'll tell you this, but I didn't tell you. I was working at a 7-Eleven, and at this time I was working with, and it was all Iranian dudes. So like, and I was the only like fat white guy, and I showed up for work on New Year's Eve, and I was supposed to work a 2 to 10 shift, and I walked in at 2:00, and the guy goes, "Hey, it looks like your relief isn't going to be here, so you get to be here till 1 or 1:30 in the morning," which meant I would have to work all through New Year's with all the psychos coming in to buy beer, and I was like, I go, I can't do that. I go, I'm leaving at 10, and he's like, well, I'm telling you right now. He goes, there will be nobody here, so if you're here at 10 and you can't lock the store, you don't have keys, so you'll have to stay here. And then they left, and it was me. I was working with another guy. There was a guy who was he had been working like a 6 to 2, but they had asked him to stay until 4 to help out. So I got there at 2. I was told that I had to stay till like 1:30 or 2 in the morning. And I'll never forget it. The Iranian guy was a nice guy, but he didn't know very much English. So I was working in this place. I'm in a big fucking smock, 7-Eleven smock. And I walked over to the hot dogs. And I took a hot dog and I put chili on it and I was eating it. And you're supposed to pay for your food at 7-Eleven. You don't get free food. And I was just eating this chili dog. And he went to ring me up and I said, hold on a second. And I walked over, and he's working the register, and I'm off in the corner of the store just eating a hot dog thinking. And I'm thinking, I can't stay here. I can't do this. You didn't move back here. You didn't leave this woman who you're not supposed to think about her. Don't even think about her. But you came here to do comedy. You didn't come here to work at 7-Eleven, and you can't be told what to do. Nobody can fucking tell you what to do. And you know what? If you can walk away from something, walk away from something. So then I grabbed another hot dog. And I put chili on it, and I was thinking, God damn it, you got to make a decision here. I mean, you need money, but 7-Eleven's not really money, and you didn't move here to work at fucking 7-Eleven. Now you're being told that you have to stay here all fucking night. Because I should tell you this, I had worked nights there, and when it was in a Hispanic part of town in like Anaheim or wherever the fuck it was, and it was crazy. All the guys coming in to buy beer and knocking shit off shelves. It was a fucking bar fight waiting to happen. And so New Year's Eve, I knew it was just going to be fucking crazier, so I didn't want to be there. So I ate a second hot dog with chili on it, and I took a Coke out of the thing, and I'm drinking Coke. And he's tending the register, and he finally looks at me, and I just go, I'm leaving. And I took off the smock, and I went to put it down, and I went, no, hold on to that. And I grabbed it, and I walked out. I got in my car, started it, and I left. And I quit. I just like walked out and quit. And so I had no job, and then of course the thing happened where there was a fire, and some things happened there. So I needed a job and a place to stay. I went to Sam, and I stayed with him. And 7-Eleven, I actually called them to get my final check because I'm an idiot, and they're like, "You can't have your final check." And I go, "Well, I'm not giving you your smock back then." And then it turned out I had to make like a trade. Like I walked in with the smock, and I had to hold it out there and get the check. But they gave me my final check. I don't even know what they should have said. Keep your smock. Who's going to fit in a 5X 7-Eleven smock? So I'm sleeping on Sam's floor, and every waking hour is consumed by Brittany, his daughter, watching Beauty and the Beast. That's all we watched. And I wish I could say I was joking. I'm not kidding. If I'm in the house, I'm watching Beauty and the Beast. Because it would end, and then Brittany would go, Beauty, Beauty. And then Natalie would just start it again, and Brittany was transfixed watching it. And I would just sit there going, I can't believe this is happening. And I liked the movie. You know, Gaston seemed like a nice guy for a while, and then he turned into a dick. But upon its 14th viewing, you'll even hate the candlestick. Honestly, you're like, fuck all of you. And I should say 14th viewing in a day. So I started hanging out. So I'd have to find a job. So I get a job at an adult bookstore. And I work graveyard there, which is fine. And I'm wondering where my life is going. And I keep thinking of Karen. And we had been talking, but not really. But I couldn't stop thinking about her. And, you know, that will happen when you're in the throes of a death spiral. When things are going poorly, you will think of the good things. And the only good thing I could think of was Karen. Because she was supremely kind to me. She was, she looked at me like I was important. And she did that from the day I met her. So I kept thinking of her more and more. And then I was asleep one day on Sam's floor. And one of the fucking quiet moments when the VCR was not running Beauty and the Beast, they had the radio on. And the song Against All Odds played. by Phil Collins. And it's funny when you hear that, it's a cliche song and you think, oh, I've heard it a million times I'll hear it a million more and it will never affect me in any way at all. But but I'm here to tell you that if it does affect you that one time, it will affect you forever. Because I don't know what it was. I do. It's the words. The words of it. I'm laying there on the floor. And again, like I said, it's a hit single, and there are plenty of other indie bands that have cooler love songs, and I get all that. But at that particular moment, in that particular circumstance, hearing that song devastated me. And it made me realize that I was in love with Karen Rader. And I could not be away from her anymore. And I laid there and I listened to it and I heard the words, and it just did it. In the moment, it did it for me. And it was the song that made me realize I loved that woman. And there were some things you couldn't just walk away from. So I called her immediately and I told her, I was like, look, I love you. I have to say it. I miss you so much. I miss you terribly. And I want to come back to you. I want to come back to you. And that was only the third time I'd ever said, I love you to anyone in my life. The first time I did it because the girl said it to me and I was so astonished I said it back. The second time I said it to a married person, and that probably shouldn't have counted. And then the third time I said it because I meant it. So she was ecstatic talking to me on the phone, and she was really happy. And she still wanted to come to California, and she was talking about coming to California. And I'm like, you know what? Are you ready to come to California? She goes, not really. I said, all right, well, don't, because I'm ready to leave California. It's terrible. So I said, I will work now toward getting back to you. So I would go work at the adult bookstore, and I was, stealing money. I was doing everything I could to avoid dudes and getting furtive glances. It was a hell gig, man. I was working the counter. If you're working a job and one of your duties is to tell guys they can't masturbate at your fucking business, that's a bad job. So the funny thing is they had a payphone there. And I would talk to Karen on the payphone all night. Like, she would call the payphone, and I would sit there and talk to her for hours at a time at a graveyard shift, watching these dudes, you can't jerk off. All right, honey, how are you? I'm terrible. So I was on the phone with her once when a guy was hitting on me. I told that story on here. There was a guy who came up, bought a bunch of Bear magazines, and I was talking to Karen, and he just kept staring at me, and he's like looking at my crotch and looking at my face and looking at my crotch, looking at my face, and he's just like rolling his eyes and like winking, and I'm just like, and I'm telling Karen, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. This guy's totally hitting. And when she's laughing, so I work there and I'm saving money. I'm doing what I can to get home. I just got to get home. And back to Karen. Then, I was at work one night. I was having a terrible night, and I called her, and she didn't call me that night, and I couldn't figure out why. So then I worked graveyard. Well, I called her house, and I told her she lived with her parents. Well, her dad answers, and it's fucking, it's 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. out there. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Karen, and she wasn't home, and I started to panic, because then, of course, you start making up all these, oh my God, she met somebody else, and she's out with him, and she has no interest, because I'm out of sight and out of mind, and she doesn't, and I lose my fucking crazy. And so she calls me finally at like 4 a.m. her time, and I'm like, where were you? What were you doing? And she tells me the story. She went out to a comedy club, and she had hung out, and she wound up hanging out with Barry Sobel all night. Like, her and a friend and Barry Sobel, and they went out to a couple clubs, and I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, I guess, but Jesus Christ, call me, because I have nothing in my life but you. Because I'm very needy, folks. I should tell you, Karen was doing comedy before I met her. Karen was a stand-up. And she wound up having a terrible accident at one of her jobs. She worked 2 jobs, and she destroyed her ankle, like multiple fractures, and dislocated her ankle. And so as she was rehabbing, she stopped doing stand-up, and then she met me. And when she met me, she totally stopped doing stand-up. She just kind of put it on a shelf and hung out with me. So that night, the Barry Sobel night was such a panic-stricken night. I was like, oh my God, where is she? What is she doing? I can't believe this. But, I mean, little did I know that Barry Sobel would be more interested in me than her at that point. I wasn't aware of that. I had heard stories about it, but then Karen actually, she was the one who told me, basically, because they went out that night, and Barry Sobel spent the whole night chasing her friend's son's ass. Like, so good for him. So I worked eventually. I saved money, and I came home. And I went right back into the Tupperware bowl of hate with my brothers. Because where else am I going to live? That was the thing. So I moved in with the guys, And but it didn't matter because I was close to Karen. That's all I wanted to be, was I wanted to be closer to Karen. So a week goes by and she's like, hey, what are you doing Friday? She said, do you have a gig? I said, no. She goes, well, let's go out to dinner. I want to go to dinner with you. She goes, I have a surprise. I said, okay. So again, I'd only been home a week. We go to dinner at some Mexican joint in Naperville. And she's like, all right, I got a big surprise for you. I said, okay, no problem. So we get out, we finish dinner, we get to the car. And she said, all right, put this on. And she hands me a blindfold. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, come on, trust me. And I said, all right. So I put the blindfold on and she drives. And we drive for a while. I don't even know. I'm not paying attention. We're talking, and I'm making fun of the fact that I'm in a blindfold. And I said, if seriously, people know that I'm with you. So if they find me in a ditch, you're the first suspect. Did you lure me home? Is that what it is? You lured me home from California just to fucking take me out? Because if that's the case, and she's laughing, and she's like, no, come on, we're fine. And she turns the music up, so I'll shut up. So she parks. And she comes around. She goes, stay there, stay there. And she takes my hand and she walks me. She goes, all right, step. There's a curb. Step. There's a step. She opens the door. And I thought we were going to a store. Like I couldn't figure out what was happening. So then I hear a key in a lock and she opens the door. And we walk in. And she says, okay, take off the blindfold. And I take off the blindfold and I'm in somebody's house. And there's a fire in the fireplace. And she goes, surprise. I said, what surprise? And she goes, this is our house. And I said, what? She goes, yeah, I rented our apartment. We're going to move in. This is where we live. And it's furnished. Like, she lives there. We live there. And she goes, come here. And she takes my hand and she takes me into the bedroom and our bed is there, which I didn't know was our bed at the time. It's her bed, but it's a canopy bed. It's got, drapes over it, fancy girl stuff that I would never in a million. I'm sleeping on somebody's floor listening to Beauty and the Beast a week ago. Now I walk in and there's this beautiful canopy bed. And she said, this is our bed. This is where we live. And I said, well, I was speechless. Like I didn't know what to say. Because I had no plans of that. Look, coming home to see her was all I wanted to do. I didn't think it was going to go to that level, but so I'm looking at her, and she's like, "Yeah, I got this for us." And we had talked about it, possibly because I had said when I come home maybe we could move in. Like I remember mentioning it, but I never even thought about it. And she had lived with her parents her entire life, and she took it upon herself to go find a place for us. Man. So I was stunned. Spent the night there. But believe you don't have to tell me twice that I can get out of the fucking the bowl of Tupperware of hate. So I'm like, cool, let's go, let's get our stuff. So I went and I got my one bag and one box, and I moved into our apartment on Benedetti, and we moved in together. It was insane. So then I wound up getting a job back at the pizza place I had left because I was working at a pizza place before I left town. And that was close by, and I lived there. We lived in Benedetti, and then we were living together. So then I started to introduce her to my friends. She met the UN of Evil. They all came over. I remember one time we were watching Pacers Knicks in my house. It was me, Mex, and Jeff, and was it the Reggie Miller game where he threw up the choke sign? I don't remember. Again, I'm getting dates wrong, but we were just there watching NBA playoffs, and she walked in, and it was so domestic, and I had never been that. I had never been that person. And when she walked in, and she's like, "There's groceries, boys," and we all went out to the cars, and we brought everything in my house. And she made us dinner. Like while we were watching basketball, she made shells. I remember, I'll never forget it. She made stuffed shells and tiramisu, homemade tiramisu, and we were eating it, and it was just like a dream. Because I had grown up in a non-domestic situation anyway. It was just my mom and 4 brothers, and I had never had any sort of feelings of contentment or stability, and this felt stable, and it was scary but also great. Strange. So, we lived together. Everything was great. And so I actually finally decided, you know what, this is serious enough to where I'm going to stop talking to people that I dated in the past. Because I was still friends with people that I had dated, and I'd call them and talk to them, and I went, you know what, it's time now to tell them I'm serious with someone and we can't talk. So I had to call my wife, Stephanie, in California. I had to call her and tell her that, what was the case. And she was really happy for me. She was great. Because we had nothing going on. You know what I mean? We were just friends, but still. So I called her and, told her, cut her loose and start just live my life. Everything was fine. Nothing was going wrong. And a month later, I had a calling card. This is the time when you used to have a phone card instead of like a cell phone. So like when I'd be on the road, I'd use this phone card. It was like a credit card for your phone. And at the end of the month, you'd get a bill from them. You'd pay it and all that. It was some WorldCom. I think it was WorldCom, whatever the fuck. Yeah. So I got the bill from them and I paid it. And then I ripped up the bill and I threw it away. And then later that night, Karen came up to me and she goes, "What's this?" And I said, "What?" And she said, are you calling? Because she knew Stephanie's name. She knew who Stephanie was. She goes, "Are you calling Stephanie? Do you still talk to Stephanie?" And I was like, "No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't talk to her at all." She goes, "You're sure?" I was like, "Yeah. What are you talking about? What? I don't. Where's this coming from?" She pulled out the ripped up phone bill from the garbage and put it together and says here you're calling her. And I was stunned. And I was like, "Yeah, I called her to tell her that I couldn't talk to her anymore. That call's a month ago. You'll see it right now. There's no other calls to her. That was me calling her to tell her that we weren't going to be friends anymore. I could not, that I was serious with you and I wasn't doing it." She's like, "Why are you calling her? You're not supposed to be calling her." And look, I recognize that. It was because it was a scary thing to move in with somebody. And also to be in your first serious relationship. And I had, that much more experience than her. Not really a ton. Well, yeah, a ton. I mean, honestly, she had dated guys, but never anything like this. And me either. I had never moved in with anybody. But still, I had a little more experience in this area. But that was it. That was all I needed I was like, "What the fuck are you doing going through the garbage trying to find evidence against me? I don't lie to you ever. I tell you anything you want to know. Ask me and I'll tell you. You don't have to produce documents that have been shredded. I ripped it up and threw it away because that's what I do. I rip up and throw away bills when they're done. I don't save them." And we had a huge fight, just a monstrous blowout. And I moved. I said, "Fuck it, I'm leaving. I'm not going to deal with this." She's like, "Fine, get out." So she kicked me out and I left. That kind of thing. And I split and I went back into the fucking Tupperware bowl of hate. I called them and they're like, "Yes, of course. One of us. Please move back. One of us." So I had to go back and stay with them. And I hated it. I was miserable. So fucking miserable. I worked my pizza job and I was just existing. But at the time I didn't feel wrong. I didn't feel like I was in the wrong because I was like, well, look, if she can't trust me, if we're living together and you can't trust me and you're going to pull out stuff out of the garbage, like that's crazy. That's crazy stuff. And look, I recognize why she did it. And I recognize why she felt that way. Because again, she had given herself over to me in a way that she had never given herself over to anyone before. So, of course, there's those weird feelings of doubt because, look, when you're dating somebody or you're with somebody or you're married to somebody, you're trusting them and you don't know them really. You really don't. You think you do. You know what they let you know and you know what you've found out. But there's always stuff you don't know. How many times have you laid in bed and looked at your wife or looked at your husband and just thought to yourself, "Man, I don't fucking know this person at all. I don't know this person at all." I mean, you think you do. But there's always stuff you don't know. So that's scary. And it's scary the first time. I mean, believe me, the 8th time it's scary. But when it's the first person you're doing that with, I understand why she was freaked out. So I'm living with those guys and in hell and working at the pizza joint. And one day her brother calls me at the pizza joint. Someone had keyed her car at our old apartment. And he calls up threatening to beat the fuck out of me. He's going to kick the shit out of me. And I go, "Dude, why would I do that?" Believe me, the second I walked out the door, because again, I had that thief mentality. I walk away, it's done. It's done. The fucking scab is formed and I'm finished. So I'm trying to explain, and believe me, don't try to explain the Michael Mann thief mentality to his raging brother on the phone at a pizza place. I'm like, look, dude, when I walked out, I was finished. I mean, she kicked me out. We're done. I'm not haunting her. I'm not doing anything like that. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, you keyed her fucking car. I'm gonna kick your fucking ass. Somebody saw you there. I go, who saw me there? Nobody fucking saw me there. Somebody saw you outside her window. Oh yeah, I'm peeking in the window now. What the fuck? I've seen her naked. I know what she looks like. Get the fuck off. I mean, I'm like yelling. And we're fucking fighting, and I'm just like, I go, you gonna kick my ass? Kick my ass. You know where I am. I go, don't fucking call me and threaten me. Do it. Just show up. Do it. But you're wrong, because I would not fucking do that. And you know what? If you talk to your sister, she knows I wouldn't do it. I hung up. And then I was, all that kind of shit just drives the wedge in further and keeps you separated, where you're just like, oh, well, then now the whole family's in on the crazy? I'm out. So, time goes by, and not much. I think just like a month, I think. I didn't talk to her. Then I heard she had to have surgery. I had heard it from Vicky that she had a cyst. Or no, Karen called her. Actually, Karen herself called to tell me. I apologize. She said she had to have surgery. She had a perineal cyst, I think it was, and she had to have it removed. And the reason she was calling me was because she might need a ride from the hospital or the doctor's office or something, and I was like, all right. I go, well, I'm around if you need help or something. That's, because again, that's fine. So she didn't call me, and Vicky was taking care of her. Vicky was showing up and taking care of her at the house, and then one time Vicky couldn't do something, so Karen called me and was like, can you come over and help me with something? And I said, yeah. And 6 hours later, once we got out of bed, even with the cyst, Silk Shirt Mike goes to work. That's not fair. I went to help her, and when I walked in and we saw each other, we could not keep our hands off each other. It was like, because I didn't want to. Let's put it this way. If I would have gone in there and just been like, what do you need, and been a dick about it, but the second I saw her, I couldn't, because I loved her. And I knew I loved her. And she felt the same way, thankfully, or it would have been a really painful afternoon. So I helped her out. And then we wound up, we started dating again. I didn't move in because that didn't feel right. And then it turned out she was giving up the apartment anyway, because she did it for us. She didn't want to live by herself. So she went back and moved in with her parents. And I actually got a room. Karen had a friend who had a house in Naperville, and she was renting out her basement. And so Karen talked to her. Jackie was her name. And she said that Michael would, he's looking for a place to live, because I was tired of living in the Tupperware bowl of hate. And so I went ahead and I moved into Jackie's basement. Literally one room in the basement, because it wasn't like I had the run of a finished basement. It was like an unfinished basement with a washer and a dryer and a bare light bulb and all that stuff. But then there was one room that had been built that had walls and tables and like a air mattress or whatever the fuck. I slept on the floor. I know that. It was like a weird bed on a mat. Well, it was just a mattress, I think. Basically, that's what it was. So, what's funny is when Mex and Jeff came over and I showed them where I lived, they were just like, dude, Mex goes, you live in Russell's old room. And I go, because we had seen Pulp Fiction and the scene with the gimp, they go, bring out the gimp, but the gimp's sleeping. Well, you better go wake him up, won't you? And then they're going to rape fucking Marcellus. And they go, where do we do this? He goes, why don't we take him back to Russell's old room? So where I moved into the basement became Russell's old room. And we would go there, and it was literally just this one room I had in this house. The family lived up above me and their stuff going on. And Jackie she was a drinker, so she would get fucking balmy and fucking be drunk when I'd come home, and I'd be like, hi, I'd run around to fucking Russell's old room immediately. But it didn't matter, because I was happy, because you know what? It wasn't the Tupperware bowl of hate. I would rather have Russell's old room than the Tupperware bowl of hate, because at least I was alone. So I was by myself. And then Karen would come over and she would stay over with me. And I bought a gigantic television for Russell's old room. And I had my Sega. So like Jeff and Mex would come over to Russell's old room and we'd have Sega battles. Like all fucking night we'd do Sega golf and stupid shit in Russell's old room. And just, it was ridiculous. I mean, I wish I mean, it was the most fun. It was so fun. But now when you look at it, it's like, God, that's pathetic. But it didn't matter. It was fucking great. It was so great. So Karen would come over. One time, it was funny. Karen came over and we were going to watch Willy Wonka. I wanted to watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So we rented it from a video store. So we went to dinner, we rented it. We were sitting in Russell's old room. We got all ready. We're in bed and we started it on my gigantic television. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Russell's old room was small. It was about the size of where we're at now, the stripper's kitchen. But imagine if you put in a 28-inch television like right here and you sat there. It was crazy. So we started Willy Wonka. We're sitting there on the bed one time. I just remember this. And the opening credits of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory are chocolate being made on a conveyor belt. And chocolate is pouring and chocolate is it's dipped. And I'm watching it like with Karen and I go, man, we got to have a candy party. She said, what? I go, we can't watch this movie without a candy party. We need a candy party. She's like, what is a candy party? I go, come on, let's go. So we got in the car and we went to Jewel, and I think I bought like $30 worth of candy. Like we just bought it, and then we laid in the bed, and I just dumped it all out, like all around us. So like if you wanted candy, you could just grab it and eat it, like while we're watching Willy Wonka. So we had sex and ate candy and watched Willy Wonka. God damn it. I'm sorry, if you can think of 3 things to do at once that are better than that, I will give you $1 million. If you can find a better night for me than to have the woman you love in bed with you, full of candy, watching Willy Wonka and having sex, yeah, I'll pay you whatever fucking amount you want. But first, we will have to spend the night watching Willy Wonka, eating candy, and having sex, so I can prove to you that it's the best. That's what you have to do to get the $1 million. Because I guarantee you, by the time that night is over, that night of eating candy and having sex with me is over, when the credits fade on Willy Wonka and the Wonkavator is burst off into the fucking sky, you're going to look at me and go, save that $1 million. Because you are so right. So, man, I was living in Russell's old room. I think I told you this one. I told this story on here once. Jackie, like her claim to fame was she had fucked Steve Sachs. Like that was like one of her stories, was she had banged Steve Sachs. And she had a son who was kind of... he was like 11 or 12 and he had no male role model. So he was starting to like be interested in me, and he was having, like, he'd want to play catch or we'd hang out and we'd eat dinner, and he was a nice kid. But I felt bad for him because his mom was half a drunk, and then her mom would come over and get him ready for school because Jackie was out of it all the fucking time. So one day I come home, I was out doing a comedy gig or something. I come home in the middle of the night. It's like 1:30 in the morning. And I opened the door and I could hear the TV outside. That's how loud it is. So I go in and it's super fucking loud. And I'm like, why is it so goddamn loud? So I walk upstairs and I'm like, hello? And I walk through and the TV in the living room is not on. And I assume her son was in bed. But I walk through and I poke my head into Jackie's room because I see her TV's on. And it's turned up as loud as it'll go. And I turn the corner and Jackie is drunk, completely naked, face down, ass up on the bed. Just like sleeping, almost as if she just fell into that position. Literally naked, face down, ass up. And Oprah is on the television and it's blaring. And I turned the corner and I saw her naked. And I stared into the void. And I almost hurt myself running to Russell's old room. Because the last thing I needed was for her to wake up with me looking in her bedroom as she's naked and she's like, what the, oh my God. It would just, I wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. And I went down into Russell's old room and I'm like, I got to get out of here. So I talked to Karen and she was also in the I got to get out of here mode. Because she had lived with her family her whole life. But then when you get away from them, you realize, oh, it's peaceful and everything's different. And I can do what I want whenever I want. So we talked about getting a new place. And we started looking around and we found a great apartment in Naperville on Georgia Court. It was so gorgeous. And it was giant. It had a big giant living space and a kitchen and a bedroom. And we moved in and it was perfect. It was so great. I was doing comedy. I was still working at the pizza joint. And she was doing her job at Humana. And it's so funny. Like you talk about moments. That when I heard Against All Odds, I knew then that I loved her and I had to get back to her. We were on Georgia Court once, and I was watching the Bears game. It was cold outside. It was freezing. And I was alone just watching the Bears in the living room. And she was puttering around in the kitchen, like that thing where I didn't know what she was doing. And in the second quarter of the Bears game, she walks out and she goes, here. And she She had made homemade baked potato soup. And I was like, what's this? And she goes, it's baked potato soup. I said, you've never made this before. She goes, I know. She goes, I wanted to try it, and it's cold out, and you're watching the football game. And I almost cried, like, because it was this thing where you went, oh, she loves me, so she did that for me. And again, I've had no stability, no anything, and so I'm a weird dude anyway. And for someone to actually selfishly give of themselves just to make me happy, not used to that. I mean, I was used to it from her and her doing it, but every time she would do it, it would amaze me. I would marvel at it, because how often do you find somebody who's there for you and really doesn't think of themselves? And I was amazed by it. I mean, it was just such a selfless thing to do. So we lived on Georgia Court. That went well. I loved the apartment, but we'd always talked about going to California. I was doing stand-up, but I had to get back to California. Because I would have wound up being just like a road guy instead of a guy talking in a stripper's kitchen. Oh my God, I would have just been doing road gigs all the time now. Jesus, what would I be doing? She and I would still be there eating baked potato soup and smiling. But instead, no, we're here. So we'd always talked about going to California. And so she and I started to talk about it. And she was like, I really want to try to do that within a year. Let's shoot for it in a year. And I said, well, okay. I said, but if we're going to go to California together, shouldn't we be married? And she's like, well, no, we don't have to. I mean, it's not a thing that we have to do. And I said, well, I think it makes sense. I go, if we're going to make that big of a move, I mean, you've never lived out of state. If we're going to make that big of a move, I think we should be married if we're going to go. And I didn't have a ring at the time, so I gave her an earring that I had. I had a gold hoop earring. And I was like, here, this is our ring for now, but let's plan on in a year we'll be in California and we'll be married. So time passed. We started making plans, and then I actually got her an actual engagement ring. I went. My mom knew a guy who had an antique shop, and I went to look at stuff, and he had a platinum eternity band with diamonds. And I was like, all right, well, that's it. Because I wanted something different. Because I'm an idiot. It has to be different. I can't be traditional. It is nice, but I wanted it, and it was platinum. So because I wanted it to be, I didn't want it to be gold, and she doesn't wear gold. Karen does not wear gold. She'll wear white gold. But platinum worked for me. So I bought a platinum eternity band, and then the first time when I gave her the ring, the gold earring, that was at Pepe's Tacos when we were having that discussion, and I gave her my gold earring. But this time I had taken her to the antique shop because I wanted to make sure it fit. She didn't know where we were going, and then the guy put it on her. He held it up, and she put it on, and then I put it on her, and then I got down on one knee and I asked her if she would marry me, and she said yes. So, sure.
So beautiful.
It was great. So, and you know what's funny is I can see that moment as if I were standing alongside us. I don't see it from the view of being on one knee and looking up. I see it as being standing alongside and seeing me get down on one knee and put the ring on her and ask her. So we started to make plans for the wedding. And she did everything. Let's go ahead and just cover that right now. She did absolutely everything for the wedding, and I did nothing. I sat back and I was like, well, I was in charge of the music, and I was in charge of the groomsmen gifts. So I started to figure all that out. But she planned everything, man. She worked so goddamn hard, and we had a huge wedding. I should tell you that we had 7 groomspeople like standing up, because I knew I was having 3 of the guys from the UN of Evil, and then I had my brother Lenny and my brother Andy, and then her brother Michael. So 6. I think we had 6. And then she had all of her people, her girls. And we were in this tiny chapel, and it's fun. I will tell you this. She wanted me to do that catechism. Like, what's that? Is that what it's called, where you got to go and learn about Jesus?
Catechism. Well, it is part of the catechism.
Yeah.
No, there's a whole thing you do before you get back. I can't think of the name of it either.
Yeah. and I turned it down. I did not want to go do it. And she's like, "What?" And I go, "No, but we didn't get married in a traditional Catholic church because I kind of fought against the idea of having to go and take classes to be, because I was baptized and I had made my first communion, but I was not confirmed. So I guess that's a thing. And I said, well, you know what? If Jesus doesn't like it, he doesn't have to show up. But it was kind of important to Karen, and I talked her out of it. So we wound up going to like a non-denominational, but there was still enough Jesus in it, I thought. And our wedding we got married in August of 97. So like I said, today is the 20th anniversary of the day we met. But we've only been married for 13. Is it 13? 97? No, that's 16. Is it? Jesus Christ, I don't know. It's used to be that thing where it was just so quick. I mean, I know the numbers of the days, but the years, it gets a little, once they get up there. So our wedding was huge in this small chapel, and it was fucking hot because it was August. So I'm in a tux and sweating, but still looked good. No silk shirt. And she looked beautiful, just a white dress and crazy veil. And when we did the vows, it was funny because it was standing room only. Like if you see a photo of this chapel and the people, our wedding was on a Friday too. We went completely unconventional, went on a Friday, and still had this amazing turnout of people. It was really packed, and we did our vows, and we couldn't stop crying. Like I couldn't. And you know me, I'm very much close to the surface at all times, so I'm ready to cry at the drop of a hat. I'm half a chick anyway, but she was really, to the point where when she had to do her vows, she has to repeat what the guy says. So the guy said something to her, and she's crying, and I'm looking in her eyes, and it's great because it's so great on the video. She's crying, and people are crying. Like it's this weird thing where everybody just kind of infected a lot of people in the crowd too, because it was just a really joyous moment. But Jesus Christ, so many tears. And she's repeating the vows, and then he says something, and she's wiping her eyes, and then there's a beat, and she just goes, "Could you repeat that, please?" In this really tiny voice, and it gets a huge laugh because it cut the tension perfectly. And then she repeated everything. And then I had to kiss her, and I'm an idiot. She has the veil on, so I have to like lift the veil up. Well, instead of like lifting the veil up like this, I took the veil and I threw it. Like I flipped it. It flipped perfectly over her head because I had to do a flourish because I'm stupid. And I got a big laugh and a big cheer, and then I kissed her. And then we walked out, and they're throwing rice, and they're filming everything, and we went to the reception, and it was a blur, man. It was a goddamn blur. And then you get squired for photos, and we took photos in the church, and we have some great pictures of the whole wedding party from the ceiling of the church. Like they went up in a balcony, like where the organ is, and they took the picture. We have a stew look picture where all of my groomsmen and me did the stew look in the photo. It's great. And then we went to a park in Chicago, and we took photos with baseball bats, and we went to the reception, and we came into this music that I had cut up, and there was a DJ, and there was such a great party, my wedding, that people gave the DJ extra money to stay, and he played an extra 2 hours, and we played eclair baseball. I think I told that story where we I don't even know how to, we wound up outside hitting eclairs with baseball bats. It was just psychos. And it was just this thing where we were floating. I can't even, when I saw the video, it made me laugh because I'm like, oh, that's what it looked like. Because I don't recall any of it. I remember her face. That's really all I remember of that night. And then two other things I remember. One, the night wound down, and we were sitting downstairs. It's me and all of my friends, the UN of Evil and all of their wives, and Karen, and we're talking and just laughing, sitting in the aftermath. And her mom was there, sitting on a chair, and I love Karen's mom, but she has a tendency to be a little much. So she's sitting there while we're all talking and joking and having fun, and she's just sitting there. She's not saying anything. And then she stands up and goes to walk out, and she says, well, If it doesn't work out, at least you had one good night. Yeah. And walks out. And what was funny is I had told my friends about Karen's mom, that she was kind of a pill sometimes, and she loved her kids and was, would do anything for them, but still a little, she's old school, she's an older woman. And so she said that, and it was just this quiet, and she walked out, and I could see Karen was just like crestfallen next to me. And I looked at all my friends just like, yeah, see what I mean? And I had told the story, because I told the story in here the first time I ever met Karen's mom. I'll tell you that real fast. I got invited to a picnic at Karen's sister's house, and I was there with Karen, and her mom kept making Karen do things. Her mom kept telling Karen, go get this, go get that, go do this, go do that, for all of the kids. Now, none of the kids were Karen's. They were all her nieces and nephews. They belonged to her sisters and her brother. But whenever they needed anything, the mom would go, Karen, get this, get a soda. Karen, can't you see that Matthew needs this? Karen, do this. And she was making, and Karen's doing it all. And I was just standing there watching it. And then finally, we're all gathered to eat. We all sit down finally to eat, and we're sitting there. And Karen is sitting with me, and one of the kids didn't have a fork. And Karen's mom, everybody's out there, everyone, even the mother of the child who doesn't have a fork. And her mom just says, Karen, can't you see that he doesn't have a fork? You need to get him a fork. And I said, why don't you get him a fork? Your legs ain't broke. And it was this frozen moment in time where everybody just sat there. Because, again, no one ever said anything like that to her mom. Obviously, she ran the show with an iron fist. And I'm looking at her, and I just smiled in her face, and she's looking at me with this weird puzzled look, because she can't figure me out at that point. And so then I wrapped it up, and I said, that's right, you heard me. Get a fork. Get me a fork. Get me a... then I made a joke out of it, and everyone laughed, and she laughed. And once she laughed, everybody laughed, I should say. That was the thing. When she smiled, everybody was like, phew. And I looked at Karen, and I had never seen a look of happiness on anyone's face like I saw that second, because someone finally had stuck up for her. So that's who her mom is. And look, by the way, let me jump in again. I know most of you have heard this because you've heard the show. But those new people, like people who didn't know that I was not in Baton Rouge to do a show, they're all learning new stuff right now. And come on, today is the 20th anniversary. 20 years ago today, I met my wife. I got to tell you this. So Mrs. Reeder walks out, and the wedding... that was fine. So we went to the bedroom, and we started to go through the envelopes and stuff. And I've told this story on here. We got dinged a bit on our wedding. Like we got stiffed by a bunch of people, and Karen was so sad. And I'm like, this is your wedding night. She's crying, just crying. And I think we didn't fuck. I mean, we were just so tired. It was so crazy. And she's in her wedding clothes, and we finally fell asleep. Woke up to meet everybody for breakfast the next day. And the thing is, the reason we got married on a Friday was because I had a show Saturday night. And I said, look, I can do the gig. It just gives us extra money. I was able to talk Karen into not getting married on a Saturday. I said, let's do it on a Friday. Just like I was able to talk her into pretty much anything. Like I would say, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do this? Like she said, she didn't want to get married. And I said, to go to California. I said, no, I think we should. Let's get married and go to California. And she said, okay. So I went and did my show in Chesterton, Indiana the next night. And on the way home, Karen and I had the worst fight we'd ever had in our lives. I mean, a monstrous fight, to the point where I was driving and she opened the car door and said, if you don't stop, I will jump out. And it was about nothing. It was one of those things where it was just like a snowball rolling downhill from the night before. All of the emotion, everything came together into this perfect storm of a fight as we came home from Indiana. And she wanted out. She wanted away from me. She wanted to be, and it was just, and I know it was this being scared of being married, and it was just a million things came together at once. But Jesus Christ, did we have a monstrous fight, monstrous, to the point where we got home and we just kind of sat there, and we went to sleep, and then the next morning she was like, I said, are you okay? And she says, yeah, are you okay? I was like, yeah. It's like we dodged a bullet last night. As long as we're both still here and alive, I guess we're married, and that's fine. And then we started to plan our move to California. We took our trip out of town. We came here on our honeymoon to look for a place to live. So we stayed in Marina Del Rey, and we had a good time. We went out to eat, went to Hollywood, all these different things. But we started looking for an apartment. Finally found an apartment in the Valley. Told them we'd be coming back in a few weeks. They said okay, because we had gotten married in August, and then we gave up our apartment at the end of August, and we stayed with her brother through September, and then we moved October 1st to come here to California. So we finalized the apartment, came out here, and moved to California, October 1st, 1997. We drove out. It was me, Karen, and her brother, my brother-in-law, good guy, Wayne. He's an over-the-road trucker, so he's like an animal. He's like, give me a thermos and we'll be there in an hour. Like that kind of fucking guy. He's awesome. So we drove from Chicago to Los Angeles, and we had two separate cars. So what we did is we came out and we towed my car. On the initial trip, we drove a truck towing my car, and then we said we would drive, because we had to go home for my buddy Dennis's wedding, or Jeff's wedding. I don't know, me, Jeff, and Dennis all got married within like 4 months of one another. So we had to come home for one of their weddings, and then we said we will drive her car cross country. So we drove here, we got our apartment, we settled in, tried to find work. The first few weeks were so great, because it was literally like just sitting on the floor and eating Chinese food and realizing that you had made it. You were doing the thing that you had always wanted to do. Now, I had lived in California, so I had kind of a semi-working knowledge of where things were. She didn't, but it didn't matter because she's got a photographic memory, and so wherever we would go, she would learn where we were going immediately. We just started driving. During the day, we'd drive. We drove up and down Van Nuys. We drove up and down Ventura Boulevard. We started to learn where everything was and try to find out where we were going. And we just settled in, man. I mean, it was so great. I started to do, I tried to find a job. She got a job pretty quick. And we moved down here. Karen wanted to be a screenwriter. She had talked about being a screenwriter. She had written a play in Chicago. And she had done stand-up and stuff. And when we had come out here, I was kind of like, I understand that, but you can do that, but we also need to get jobs. We need to really find jobs. And, she wound up getting a gig. Like, she worked, I really can't remember. Like, there was a series of like temp gigs, and then she had she wound up getting a job at Disney finally, through a temp agency, and then they made her permanent, which was great. And I was working at Spider-Man's restaurant for a while, and that went fucking south. And then I was looking for gigs. I wound up booking basketball. But it's funny. We went home for. We were heading home for some reason. No, she had to go home for a trade show. I forget what it was, but we were in bed one night here, and Silk Shirt Mike was doing business, and I felt something on her, and I was like, wait a minute, what's this? She goes, what is it? She reached over, and there was a lump in her breast, and it wasn't big. I mean, it was just tiny, but look, I had I had covered enough ground on her breast to know that it was different, it was new, and it was something that wasn't there before. So I go, what is this? And she goes, I don't know. And I said, well, I mean, that's something you got to get looked at probably. And she's like, all right. She goes, well, we'll do it when we come home from Chicago. I said, okay. So we went to Chicago. We had a great time. We actually wound up at, she was working at ESPN at, for Disney. So she got all these things at the ESPN zone. She got a bunch of free games, and all my friends went. We all went, and we had this big dinner, and then we hung out and played games. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun to hang out with all our friends. So then we came back to California, and I said, look, you got to make that doctor's appointment. She's like, yeah, no problem. She did, and we went in to see a doctor. Did we see Dr. Masto first? I don't remember. But we wound up in the office, and he's like, all right, well, I got to take a look at that. They had to take an MRI, and they did, and he came in. I think it was 2 separate appointments. But then we came back, and we're sitting in Dr. Masto. Oh, no. She saw one doctor, and he referred us to Dr. Masto, and they took not an MRI, but maybe just a mammogram of her breast. So we sit in Dr. Masto's office, and he comes in, and he was he looked like he should be in a tree making cookies. Like, he was this tiny little guy with white hair, but he had the softest hands. I'll never forget that. And he looked like a wizened, rich, linen pants wearing old man doctor. Nice man, really beautiful. And he came in, and Karen was sitting on the bed, on the little gurney thing. He was okay. He goes, well, we took a look at this, and it is definitely cancer, and we need to get in there right away and take it out. We can't mess around. We need to see it. We need to be doing this now. And it was abrupt. He did it in a gentle way, but it was so different from anything we had ever thought we would hear that it didn't register at all. Like, we're just sitting there, and we said, what did you say? And he goes, it's cancer. This is a cancerous lump, and we need to get your lymph nodes to see if it's spread, and we need to remove this as soon as possible. And Karen just started crying, but not like sobbing crying, but just like that thing where you sit there and tears come out of your face. I think her body started crying. And we said, well, you slow down. What's going on? He goes, it's not, I'm not trying to scare you. He goes, we caught it super early, it seems like. He goes, but you can see here and here. And he showed us where it had tendrils. And that's the thing, is once you see tendrils reaching out, he said, that is definite cancer. We need to get this out of you. So this whirlwind happened where they scheduled surgery. They had to put a portacath into her chest, and then that flipped. And so they had to reflip it over. So she had to have that surgery. They went in and they did a lumpectomy. They didn't. We were wondering if she had to lose her breasts, and they said, well, we'll take out this and we'll see what happens. So they went in and they did a lumpectomy. Took that out, took out the lymph nodes. And, I was in the hospital downstairs all day freaking out. And then I got to see her, and she looked so weak just laying there. But she was still caring. Like, she still had... Because, once you hear cancer, you think everything's going to change right away. Because they warned her, you're going to lose your hair. All these things are going to happen. You're going to have to go through chemo, radiation. But the day she had the surgery, she was still caring. I mean, she was always caring, but she still looked like caring. Because I didn't know what to expect. So I went upstairs, and her hair was messed up. She was so groggy. And I remember her but she was so out of it, but still took my hand and wouldn't let it go. So time passes, and lymph nodes are clean. She comes home, and my mom came out to help take care of her. And so the three of us were together while Karen was in the hospital, had the surgery, and my mom was with me and telling me, everything's going to be fine, and which was good. I wish she would have been telling Karen that, because I don't think anybody was telling Karen that. That was the thing. Because I wasn't. I was not a good husband during cancer, because I didn't know what to do, and I made it about me, which is stupid. You should give of yourself. You should realize this has nothing to do with me. It has no bearing on who I am as a person or what's going to happen in my future. It's about her future. And if something happens to her future, fuck, I don't have a future anyway, so what the fuck do I care? But instead I withdrew, and I was not present. I wasn't great. To the point where I actually went out of town. Like, I would actually go do road gigs while she was home sick. Because I felt, you got to keep the money coming in. You got to do this. You got to have some sense of normalcy. And in the pursuit of normalcy, I made everything abnormal and drove a wedge between the two of us. And it became an issue. One night we had a screaming, oh my God, she lost her mind on me and my mom. On me. My mom just happened to be there, but Jesus Christ, I've never seen her that anguished, or sad, or angry, or furious, or mad, or whatever other exclamation you want to think of. But she screamed until it seemed like her throat would bleed. She was screaming at me and crying and so mad at me. And I should have just sat there and took it, but instead I fought back, which was stupid. I should have recognized it for what it was and realized what was happening, but I didn't. Because I'm pretty good at being aloof. So she recovered. She actually worked. She worked her job through cancer. Would go to chemo and have the day off, but then go to work the next day sick, hair falling out. Because, God forbid I get a real job and stop chasing the dream and realize what was really important. But we made it through that. And hey, there were some fun times with cancer. We had to go pick out a wig once. That was totally cool. Like, we went to go find a wig, and we found this awesome, like, straight hair, like, with bangs wig. And it was like, I think it was like $200 when we bought it. We didn't care. It was fucking awesome. And I don't think she ever wore it because her hair did not fall out. Thankfully, it did. I mean, it did. Of course, it got thin and she got sick, but not like completely bald. She didn't have to shave her head. I don't know how she was so strong. I probably wouldn't have been. I'm not, and no probably about it. But she went through chemo and radiation. And I didn't go to the radiation with her. I don't know why. Because you know why? Because I just was like, because she was so strong and she was getting through it. I was like, oh, well, then it's fine. But in reality, there, people can be strong, but they would be stronger if you were there with them. Strength can only be enhanced by strength. So no matter how strong you are on your own, if you've got other people there with you being strong, it makes you that much stronger, I would think. It's like if you took cement and you forged it with steel, that would just make it double strong, right? I don't know. I don't build shit. Got a little far off into analogy territory there, but I think you know what you mean. You know what I mean. If you took some steel and you filled it with cement and then surrounded that by iron, oh my God, how strong is that? It's the strongest thing in the world. Actually, if you took platinum and surrounded that by aluminum and then filled it with tin and then cement and then put steel around it, oh my God, that's strong. All right, so anyway, you get my point. But I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why. Because you know why? Because she seemed, in my head, I was like, well, she's doing fine. But she could have been that much more fine if I would have shown an interest or tried to help. I would, it's not like when someone comes home from work and you say, hey, how was work? If someone comes home from radiation treatments for cancer, hey, how was radiation treatment for cancer? Well, my skin is on fire and I'm sick to my stomach. Can you hold my hair while I throw up? Sure. I was always there to do that. And that's probably not even true. But she fought through it despite the fact that she had fucking 500 pounds of dead weight at her house. And she came around and she was healthy and she was going to see her oncologist and then working and living life. And I was still doing stand-up, trying again and again, just doing what I could to make it happen. Because, we came out here to chase dreams, and I certainly did a lot of that. So then, we were surviving. Things were going well, I thought. I got a job at Funny Money, started working there. And I was like, finally, here we go. It's picking up. I've got a job. I'm writing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. We're going to be happy. And then she told me she was leaving. This was in 2004. And it was just like, wait a minute. What? Everything's going fine. I got a writing job. Everything's okay. And she's like, no, man, I'm not happy at all. And she wasn't. And that was the thing. It was so foreign to me that she wouldn't be happy. She was with me, wasn't she? You're with me. Silk Shirt Mike. Shouldn't you be as happy as possible? But things were building up for her that I didn't even recognize, things that I didn't even see, and it was enough to make her say that she wanted to go. And I covered this in year 2, I think. And it's funny, there's a show called This Is Your Fault, and I talk about how she told me she was leaving, and I did not see it coming at all. I was blindsided, and she left. She literally just took off. And the hard part when somebody says they're leaving is that you feel bad because you've let them down. I mean, that's, I don't even give a fuck about me. It's just, but when they decide that they're going to leave, it's just that weird realization that you've failed. And so I talked about it on the This Is Your Fault show. And I created Audio Karen. I talked about that here where I made like 15 CDs. And it was like 170 songs or something like that. And she left and I cried. That's all I did was I sobbed. Because I thought everything was fine and she decided it wasn't and she actually split. And I didn't think she'd ever go, but she did. And so then I was living by myself for a while. And then she came back and she took the apartment and I actually moved out. I don't think I went into this on This Is Your Fault. I moved out. I moved in with a friend of mine named Kurt. And I lived upstairs in his place. I had the upstairs, he had the downstairs. And I took our chaise lounge. I slept on that. I didn't have a bed. I had my laptop and a TV, and that's what I did. I got a job. I had to find a job because I needed money, obviously. So I worked at a sports website called Naxcom.com, and I was a customer service representative. And I would have all sorts of chats with people all across America who still like baseball cards. So I would talk to them on the phone, and I would talk to them online, and I loved it. I didn't mind the work. There was just no money in it at all, and I was still trying to do stand up, but I was mainly hiding from the world because of my shame at having failed. And so I would come home from work at night. I would do my laundry once every 2 weeks because I had enough clothes to make it that amount of time. And I would be on the computer. I would watch TV. I set up cable. I actually bought TiVo. It was the first time I bought TiVo because it had just been invented. And I would get like $20 worth of Taco Bell and a 2 liter of Pepsi and sit in my room and eat that and drink that and every night and just get fatter and fatter and be more miserable. And Karen was, she was living her life and doing her thing. And then we had not divorced. We had talked about it, but we didn't. Mainly because I probably didn't have the money to do it. Like, it was another thing that she was held back from doing because I couldn't participate. But we started to gradually talk more. And then we started to have sex. Like, I would go to her house and have sex. And I made a joke about it where I was leaving the house one time at like 3 a.m. and I had a baseball bat with me because it was one of my groomsmen's gifts, and I was picking it up to bring it back to my apartment. So I'm walking out at 3 a.m. I'm leaving, and I've got a baseball bat, and I see a guy who lives in the complex. He walks by, he's like, "Hey, Mike." And I go like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I go to get in my car, and I remember distinctly having the thought, man, I really hope nobody murders Karen with a baseball bat tonight. Because 3 a.m, I'm walking out with a bat. This guy sees me. My semen is all over the living room. No doubt Richard Belzer and Ice-T are coming to my house immediately.
Oh my God.
But luckily that bullet was dodged. So I still lived at Kurt's. I'm working at Naxcom, and I'm doing stand-up and whatnot. And Karen's living her life. She wound up getting a new gig while I was away, and because she had quit her old gig, whatever. She went through a litany of jobs. And then we started to talk about possibly getting back together. And I, when I had moved in with Kurt, I was devastated when Karen left. And then I left and I moved in with Kurt. And then as time went on, the scab formed. And I moved on with my life. I didn't want to, but I made myself because I knew that there was no hope. And I had nothing to offer Karen anyway. I mean, I was working at a fucking website. I had failed, and I'd failed her. So I didn't even think about pursuing her. And quite frankly, the more distance that comes from the breakup, anger starts to set in a little bit where you're like, well, I can't fucking believe that she left. She really did leave. And then you start to get pissed because you can't spend the whole time carrying a torch because that's just stupid. So you have to make up barriers in your mind toward caring so much about that person. You have to start thinking about transgressions, and you have to start thinking about, well, if she hadn't left in the first place, and you gotta even if you gotta make it up, you gotta do whatever you can to harden your heart to move forward. And I was starting to reach that point when she reached out to me, and we started to talk, and then, like I said, we started to have sex, and I started to visit her over at her house, and then she actually visited me in my house. And we started to talk about getting back together. And I said, well, if we do this, we got to go to counseling. I mean, there's a bunch of shit we got to do. And so we wound up seeing a counselor, this woman named Dawn. I think I talked about that on here. The first session, I don't think I said anything except hello. And then Karen unloaded on me, just unloaded on me. And 80% of it was fair, 20% of it wasn't. But I just sat there and took it. And Dawn never stopped her, and they just basically, that's what happened. It was just this, I got everything vomited all over me, and I sat there getting more angry and going, wait, don't I get to fucking say anything? Isn't this like back and forth? What I should have recognized, what I recognize now, is that she needed that. She needed to unload on me, and then maybe the next week would start the joint sessions, but maybe she needed one session to fucking let me have it. So I took it, and then I was fuming. And then the next time when we went, I went, look, I gotta start here really quick. And then I started to talk, and then it was productive. I think we only went like 4 or 5 times. We should have gone more, but we went 4 or 5 times, and it was great. We started to get along better. We started to get along more. And I think honestly, it was. I needed to come to grips with who I was and what I was doing because I was miserable. I mean, I was all fat and not fucking working and not doing anything. So then we started to talk about getting back together, and then we did, and then right around 2006, my professional life really kind of changed. I had met. I met you in 2004, right? Wasn't it? Or no, 2005. No, it was at the Scary Election Show is when I met
Yeah,
you.
it was 2004 because it was after.
So I had met Lily and her husband David in 2004, and then David kind of took a liking to me, so he started to use me on his radio show. So I started to get along with Lily, and I started to have more opportunities from that. So professionally, that was happening. And then I wound up getting a writing gig with David for the show called Saints Row. It was this. He asked me to write this video game with him, and then so Karen and I wound up getting back together, and I was happier. I was much better place, and I went ahead and I had gastric bypass surgery, which also changed me in many ways. Not really. I mean, it changed my body, and for a while it changed my head, but my head's still all fucked up. But I had the gastric bypass, and I was with Karen. And then I was working on Saints Row, and then I wound up getting, it was weird, all these jobs kind of fell in a row, where I worked Saints Row, and then I started to write on Starface, and then after Starface, I got a job writing for Funniest Pets and People, and then I started doing Never Not Funny, the podcast, and I was never more fulfilled professionally. And so I was back with Karen, I was happier, I was really trying to change to the point where when we moved back in together, this is so funny, I changed all my passwords for my accounts to be reminders of what I had lost and what I had gotten back. And who I was supposed to be as a guy. Like I went in and changed every ATM password to a number combination, all sorts of stuff, to words, whatever. I tried to make this effort to surround myself with positivity so I would not slip back into being who I was. And I was happy, and Karen was happy. I was going out, I was writing, I was doing the things, and I was making a ton of money. And it was so great because I was able to give her things and do the things for her that I wanted to do. And, like I said, I was chasing dreams, and I had caught some. I was really excited. I actually booked a trip to Hawaii for us. We were going to go to Hawaii for a week. This was after Starface had ended. So I had time off. So I was like, well, in December, we'll go for a week to Hawaii because we had never really had a honeymoon. When we came out here on our honeymoon, we were hunting for apartments, which is fine. But you know what? Still, you'd like to have a time where you could go out and enjoy yourself. So I booked Hawaii, and then it turned out I got hired in September at Funniest Pets and People. And I said to them, hey, I have a week-long trip in December, to going to Hawaii. And they're like, well, you're going to have to cancel it because we need you here to write. So I went to Karen and I said, hey, because this was the best job I had ever had in my life. And I could not risk losing it. So I told Karen, I go, look, we're going to have to postpone Hawaii. And she's like, oh my God, why? I was so looking forward to it. I go, because it's my job, and they're not going to let us go. And the reason we were going at that particular time, U2 and Pearl Jam were playing in Hawaii in Honolulu. And so we got tickets for the show, and then we were going to stay at an amazing resort. I mean, it was just, I went balls out. It was great. And now we had to change it. So she was disappointed, but she was like, well, I mean, if it's for your job, I guess it's okay. Because that's what she did. She was selfless. She always let me do basically whatever I wanted. I've talked about that in here many times before. She does that all the time. Still, to this day, she lets me do what I want. And I'm more than happy to accommodate her. So what wound up happening was I didn't have to cancel all of Hawaii. We wound up going for 4 days. We flew Friday morning, and we came back Monday. And we went to Hawaii, and even though it was jammed in, it was a whirlwind of time. Like we saw, Pearl Jam on Saturday, and then we were on Sunday. We had to pack, and we flew in a red eye. And even though we were only there for 72 hours, it's the most fun I think we've ever had together. It was so beautiful. We landed, and it was spectacular outside. And I had paid for the best resort on near Diamond Head, because again, I had all this money. So we got this room with an ocean view. The second we got to town, we got in late. We flew in late, and we got there late Thursday night, super late, like midnight. And we checked in, and we still went to the beach. It was completely dark. There was nothing but moonlight, but we swam in the ocean under the moonlight. Went up to the room, slept. Went down for breakfast, and they had a catered breakfast poolside in the open air outside. It was fucking 80 degrees. Pineapple. I mean, just lychee nuts, and walking the beach. And we had plans. We were gonna go for the sushi. We had all these plans, but again, it was all super quick. We had to jam it all in. But it was we went on a catamaran, and we went on a ride. We just did all of these things that we'd wanted to do. And again, it was whirlwind. I wish we'd had a week to breathe in it, but it was so fun. And even though we went on an amazing cruise boat ride, we saw U2 and Pearl Jam in Hawaii. What I will remember most from this trip is we wound up on the beach Sunday morning, and there was a warning for waves and currents, and they were like, you should probably stay out of the water unless there's a lifeguard. Well, there was no lifeguard, but we were not about to not go into the ocean. So we went to the water, and the waves were crazy. I mean, you could see them coming like a television show where you just saw the white of the foam cresting and then smashing into the beach. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she smiled, and had never looked happier in her life. And we just ran into the water and got killed. It was awesome. We ran into the water, just waves smashing us. We were trying to swim, but we were upside down. We got twisted around and upside down. I was holding her hand, and we got separated, and we just got tossed, and we got washed up on the beach. And I remember getting washed up, and there was the roar of the waves and the sound of the wind, and I smashed up, and I washed up on the beach, and all I heard was laughter. All I heard was laughter, and I looked, and she was laying there like almost upside down. Her fucking strap on her bikini was down, and she's just cracking up, and I could not stop laughing. I started laughing. It was like we were 5. I mean, the fun that we had in that hour where we would just get up and run into the ocean, and then the ocean would just spit us back up, always together, and always happy. And I would look in her eyes, and she would look at me, and I never wanted to be, even now, I don't want to ever be anywhere else the rest of my life other than in that moment on that beach in Hawaii, looking in my wife's eyes when she could not have been happier. It was so fantastic. And I felt happy because I was able to get that for her. Like, you know what I mean? I provided that. Like, I worked, and I made money, and we went, and because I've always been a burden, in my opinion, because she gets the real job, and I get to chase dreams. And she has dreams. But I chase mine, man. That's what I do. So we were on the beach and so happy and so perfect. It was the defining moment of what I want to be, the defining moment of our relationship. Just pure bliss, pure happiness, staring in each other's eyes. And that's what I choose to think of today on the day where I met my wife 20 years ago. And I can't believe we made 20 years. Almost. My marriage ended yesterday with a phone call. I was on my way to the airport, and Karen called to tell me she wouldn't be here when I got back. I kind of knew it was coming. Things have been iffy for a while. And it's so funny. She sat me down a month ago to talk about this and tell me how she was feeling. And I, tried to talk her out of it because I've always been able to do that. But, I wasn't even talking her out of it this time from the please stay with me aspect, because I know how she feels. She feels trapped, and stifled, and she wants to be more than what she is with me. And I recognize that feeling. I spent most of my life wanting to be more. So, we talked about it a month ago, and I had talked her into staying because she's impulsive, so she's really happy chasing the things that she's chasing now, and that's fine and good for her. Because I just want her to be happy. And if I'm not there, then I'm not there. Because I've stolen enough of her time. I stole the first 12 years. And then she took it back. She took a year back. And then she came back and let me steal 8 more. And I'm grateful because I wanted to be with her, but I won't forgive myself for taking away that time that she could have used to be somebody different, whomever she wanted to be. I convinced her to stay out of purely selfish reasons again, because I'm not working. We're trying to figure things out, and we've built a mountain of debt together, which is our legacy, my legacy, quite frankly. So I was like, well, you could stay, and if you don't want me to look at you or talk to you, that's fine. It's fine. But let's stay and work on this together because it only makes sense. And she agreed. And then when I went out of town for 4 days, she packed and left. And again, good. As long as she's happy, that's all I care about. And I know that sounds stupid and it sounds false, but it's true. Because I've always wanted that. Even as I operated directly in the face of that thought at all times. She is constantly done for me. And I don't know if I've ever done anything unselfishly for her. And it's my great regret. And I can only hope that she got out with enough time to do the things that she wants to do and be the person she wants to be without me telling her who she should be or what she should do. And the worst part is the failure aspect. I mean, I wished it was different, and I wish we were happy, and I wish I was a better man. I wish I was a man and was able to bring to the table the things that she needed or wanted, and been a better partner, all of those things. That's the thing. I don't give a fuck about me. I don't care about me. I hate me, and I always have. Not really. I love me. I think I'm a fucking genius. But at the same time, you can be angry at yourself because of the mistakes that you constantly make over and over and that you can't pull yourself out of making. But I don't care about me. I care about her. I want her to be happy. The only reason I want success, the only reason I want anything to happen is not for any glory or anything. I just want people to know they weren't wrong. And it is so devastating that I will never prove to her that she wasn't wrong. That she was right to believe in me, and she was right to look at me with wonder in her eyes and think that I was special. And that's that's the million little deaths you get out of this kind of situation, because she stayed the past 3 weeks but she was only there because she had to be. And try doing that with somebody you've been with for 20 years. Try to go from being a couple to existing. Try to go from being in love to in the house together. When we would fight, it was funny. The whole time we've been together, I always knew the way to make her saddest was to deny her the opportunity to do things for me. If she would make me a dinner, I would refuse to eat it. Or if she would offer to do something for me, I would say, no, you don't need to do that, because I knew that would make her more upset than anything, because all she wanted to do was do for me. And I knew that the way to get to her was to make sure that she didn't have the opportunity to make me happy. I used her willingness to please me as a weapon. And that seems so ridiculous now that it's gone. Because now nobody wants to fucking make me happy. So the fact that you had somebody who was willing to do those things and wanted to make you happy, and I would refuse it on purpose because I knew it would bother her. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. Why? She... So I'll tell you, you really start to notice when someone stops doing that. Because the last 3 weeks, we haven't said I love you once, and I said it every day. Every day. It was the last thing I said to her before she went to sleep in case she died. On purpose. Like, I made her say it to me that way, in that order again, because I'm a good guy. I would say goodnight, I love you, because I didn't want to say I love you goodnight, because I never wanted the last thing I said to not be I love you. I thought it was bad luck. Like if you said goodnight, that was like saying goodbye. So these last 3 weeks, no affection. Because she made up her mind, man. She's done. And look, I've seen it coming. I'm not... This has been coming on for about 2 years. I mean, we've had stuff happening back and forth, but we fought through it. But I think she finally just grabbed a white towel and realized she's happier doing what she's going to do on her own, and that's fine. Because again, it's really important to me that she be happy. But man, these last 3 weeks, I actually started like 3 months ago making her coffee for her in the morning. She told me to stop. She would go to work. No, I love you. No kiss goodbye. She dropped me off at the airport. And I got my luggage out, and she just got back in the car. And I even looked at her at that one. I looked at her because, look, you're not with me. You're happier elsewhere. You're leaving. That's whatever. That's fine. But you've still been my friend, at least my friend for 20 years. You don't hug me goodbye to get on a flight? What if I die? What if I... And who cares? Nobody cares about if I die. It's silly. It's a silly leap. But it just seemed it was such a death. She got in the car and closed the door, and I actually went, I go, really? She looked at me and I go, really? This is where we're at now. After 20 years, this is where it's at. And I mean, I don't know what I expected. But you know what? You know what I got? I got an eye roll, and I got her sighing and getting out of the car to hug me. And that was worse. Because she didn't even hug me. You know what she did? She stood as far away from me as possible and leaned forward and put an arm over my shoulders and then patted me on the back with her other hand and said, "Have a good flight." That's fine, I guess. I mean, I guess as part of being happy is completely cutting off the thought or any emotion at all of someone you've been with for 20 years, then that's fine. But I'm done telling her how to feel and how to think, because look what it got me. The crushing blow is that I'll never get to validate the belief she had in me. You know what? Check that. I'm so crushed that I'll never get to validate the belief that she had in me, but the crushing blow is that her belief was wrong. And I'm not lying when I say I just want her to be happy, because I do. I wish I could have been the one to make her happy, but I let her chase the dreams that I never let her do. And be happy, because she's still the best person I've ever met. And she would do anything for anyone, to her own detriment, which is a fault, but I'm not here to talk about her faults. I just want her to be everything she wants to be. And I only wish she could have done it while she was with me. "20 years ago tonight, I met the first and only girl I thought I could stay with for the rest of my life. "20 years later, I'll leave here and go home to an empty apartment and realize how wrong I was. But in leaving, I guess she did do one thing for me. Now I've got something to talk about on year 6 of my podcast." You guys can get me at mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com.
She said something about going home. She said something about needing to spend some time alone. And she wondered out loud what it was she had to find. But she's already made up her mind. All my friends told me she was too young. Well, I knew that myself, and I tried to run. But the faster I ran, the more I fell behind, because she'd already made up her mind. She's already made up her mind. nothing so deep as the ocean, and there is nothing so high as the sky, and there is nothing so unwavering as a woman when she's already made up her mind. So now she's sitting at one end of the kitchen table, and she is staring without an expression, and she is talking to me without moving her eyes, because she's already made up her mind. She's already made up her mind. She's already made up her mind. She said something about going home. She said something about needing to spend some time alone. And she wondered out loud what it was she had to find, but she'd already made up her mind. So my friend, carry me down to the water's edge, and then sail with me out to that ocean deep, and then let me go easy down over the side, and remember me to her. She's already made up her mind. She's already made up her mind. She's already made up her mind. And she's